Who will win the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid is the question on everyone's mind, and we find out today. Welcome everyone. I'm Tanya Sachdev. Alongside me, Sahaj Grover. Sahaj, excited?
Very, very excited. This is the day when we decide who wins the rapid section in both open and the women's. Gonna be a very exciting day. 3 rounds. Anything can happen.
It's Judgment Day. 3 decisive rounds coming up, and what a field we have, what a leaderboard we have. But before we get into all of that, let's reset the stage with all that happened yesterday. From the moment the players arrived, Sahaj, you could feel the tension at the Dhanodhanyo auditorium, and then so much drama on and off the board.
Speaking of drama, there has been, I don't think we can say Tata Steel India Rapid and Bliss without drama. And yesterday we did see a lot of drama, and we'll get to that very, very soon. But yes, I think it's in these 3 rounds, we have 3 players who are right at the top, and anything is possible, Tanya.
Anything is possible. And speaking of right at the top, that man who you saw walking in, these are visuals from yesterday, is one of them, including Nihal Serene as well. That's in our open. We had fighting chess in the open in the women's section. The women's section ended with one leader at the top, an up and down day for some. But I think, Sahaj, it was all at the end. It was all eyes on that Wesley Prague board.
And what an interesting story it was, because Prague had 1 second on the clock. He paused the clock, tried to promote his queen, and Wesley, I think, could have played on, could have gone for the win, but then he offered a draw.
And it was a packed auditorium that witnessed all of that. And this is the final day of the Rapid. So if you're in Kolkata, you need to be at the Dhanodhanyo auditorium. Tension is high, press conferences at the end, emotions running high on the players. Maza aa raha hai, just the way it is every single edition of Tata Steel Chess India. And of course, the big news everywhere, the big debate was coming to that Wesley Prague board. What happened in the end?
Absolutely, and there we see it on the board. Prague having 10 seconds on the clock, takes a moment to think here whether he should promote or not. But he decides a bit too late, grabs the queen and then stops the clock. And then Wesley says, no, you cannot do this. You cannot stop the clock. But then there is some complications, and then eventually Wesley just offers a draw. What are your thoughts on it, Tanya?
You saw that we were absolutely in disbelief as the arbiter did step in and expecting Wesley to get the win there. Instead, after the arbiter mentioned to Wesley that he would only be awarded a couple of extra minutes, Wesley decided to not appeal further for that extra point, but instead offered a draw, which was accepted by Pragnananda. And I think we saw there, right? Prague had at least more than 10 seconds to make that move. The queen was right next to the clock, but he hadn't spotted it. He instead had reached out to grab the knight, realized that he's grabbed the wrong piece. In all of the confusion, he eventually did not have enough time to make that move. By the time he spotted the queen, it was too late. He stopped the clock with just a second. Wesley claimed for a win, but having given only a few extra minutes, decided he didn't want to appeal, he didn't want to fight for that win on technicalities, and instead just offered a draw. Sahaj, in my humble opinion, it almost feels that seeing what happened at the World Rapid and Blitz with Magnus, that win should have been given to Wesley. And been given an extra minute on the clock. Of course, we can all debate about what is the right thing to be done, but we had even renowned arbiter Chris Bird from the United States step into this and say that in such a situation, unless the queen, the promotional piece, is nowhere in sight and a player cannot reach out to it, you can't stop the clock before making a move.
I completely agree with you. I think, in my opinion as well, it should have been a win for Wesley. But, then it comes down to whether Wesley wanted to, lodge a complaint against this, but decided not to. And I guess it's the honorable thing to do in that sense. But yes, in my opinion as well, I think he should have been awarded the win, and this could cost him, the championship for this tournament, because he is now just half a point. That half point is what he needed to be tied for the first place going into the final day.
Huge big day coming up, and we can keep debating about whether it's the arbiter's decision that's at play here or the players. I think very less is to be put on the players. I think it comes down to the way at the end of it, the decision to just give an extra minute for that pause of the clock. We had Wesley give his reaction at the end of it.
And Wesley, we wanted to ask you about what happened today versus Prague. Can you share with us what really happened in the final moments?
Yeah, they asked me in the press conference also, but basically the game was very unclear and I had no idea what was happening. I had 39 seconds and Prague was panicking and he wanted to promote the pawn at d1 queen, but he couldn't find the queen. And he thought he had 2 seconds, and if he kept looking for the queen, then he would have lost on time. I think he had 1 second, half a second. So he just, in panic, he just paused the clock. Man. I think Magnus did that twice in World Blitz, and he lost the game. So I thought I would win, but the arbiter was only giving me a minute or two. I guess I could complain and probably get the win, but I don't want to win. I want to win the game, the position. I don't want to win due to technicalities. So I just offered the door. I had time to think. I had time to think what was happening, and I figured that I could be risking as well, probably. I mean, the best I could hope for the position was a draw, so I just offered the draw. But yeah, basically, some players like to complain a lot. There are players who you just misadjust a piece without saying adjust, or they're gonna complain to death. But I don't want to win that way. I want to win on the game. In the World Blitz also, there have been a couple of players this year and also a couple last year who in time scramble they would make a move, press the clock, but their piece would fall, and I just let it go. Some players would never let it go, but if it's unintentional, obviously I don't feel right to, and I didn't feel like I deserved to win against Prague. I was better early on, but then it turned around very quickly, and in a time scramble anything could happen. Actually, I could also very quickly get checkmated, because when he played Queen F5, I was gonna play King H2, but then he had Bishop G1, which is made. But tomorrow will be tomorrow. There's still a lot to play for, and Prague is Prague, Arjun, Gukesh, Nihal. They're great kids. Never see even a little bit of arrogance in them. So yeah, they're great kids.
Thank you.
And the big question will be, what will be the price of that sportsmanship right there by Wesley, his decision to not appeal? He's currently half a point behind the leaders, Vishy and Nihal. Today, we get answers to all that question. And there we are, live from the Dhonodhanyo Auditorium. The players, Sahaj, are ready to go. And this is the final day of Rapid. Tension at its peak.
Absolutely, and you can see that with Arjun and Wesley on the board right now. Both of these players know that if they want to stay in the lead, they have to win this match. So it's going to be a very, very exciting match. Let's see what happens. Who's your pick here, Anya?
Well, the matchup that we have in front of us, it's so meaningful for our leaderboard and our standings. Arjun, after a disastrous day one, he breathes fresh life into his campaign here with what we saw in action yesterday. 2 wins and a draw. It sees him in the chase for the championship here, as well as Wesley. He starts with the black pieces. Both players half a point behind here. Right behind them is also Vidit and Vishy. A huge clash that one is. So many pairings to keep our eyes on, and maybe we can just have the matchups on our screen really quickly to see what's in store for us. What stands out to you, Sahaj, as the big ones?
I think it has to come down to the tournament leaders, which is Nihal and Vishy. I think both of them on 4.5 points, and I believe these two games are going to be very, very important. But let's not forget Wesley, just half a point behind everybody else. And of course, Arjun, who's on 3.5 right now, needs to score at least 2 wins in a row to get back into the lead.
And we've got the ceremonial moves which have just happened, which means we are seconds away from liftoff of round 7 of the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid. It's Nihal versus Pragnananda, it's Vishy versus Vidit, Arjun versus Wesley, the most important matchups for our leaderboard. The women boards also lift off. You can see the leader there, Katrina Lagno against Rakshita Ravi. Lagno, a huge favorite in this matchup, looking to score and start on a high in this final day.
Yep, Lagno already, I think, having a half a point lead above everybody else. And look at that! Arjun goes. I was excited for a second there, but it's one step too much. Yeah, I was expecting the London system there, but he goes for Bishop G5. Trompovsky, it's called, I believe, Tanya.
It is a Trompovsky system, and this is the main line against it. To counter it, you immediately take advantage of that developed bishop by planting your knight at the center of the board. And now the bishop comes back to f4. And one might make a case that, you've just lost a tempo and allowed the black knight to jump forward. But Sahaj, there are cons to having that knight at the center so early on. It leaves weaknesses behind of those central pawns.
Absolutely, and you can see Arjun already capitalizing on them. You can always take on e4, you can play e3 and bishop d3, and you can put pressure on the e4 pawn, basically provoking black to take on d2. And this knight, which just invested 2 moves, 1, 2, 3, and it has to take basically 3 moves to take our knight on d2, and that's not essentially very healthy. So right now Wesley is already out of book, which is a rare sight for me. And Tanya, I have a question for you. And this is day 1 of me realizing this. Do you know what the name of this opening is? It's day 1 of for me. I still have to double check this, but from what I can see, it's called the gossip variation.
The gossip variation. I was always calling it the trump. The Trompovsky of getting the bishop out to g5 early, but I think that's when the knight is still on g1, and on move 2 you bring the bishop out there.
Yes.
But this one is the gossip variation, and gossip has it that there's a lot of action on Vidit versus Vishy and our other leader Nihal's board. I think we have to jump to Prague versus Nihal, because that opening is definitely going to get a lot of gossip going.
No ways. Did he just play King's Gambit, or delayed King's Gambit, is it called, or what is this even called?
Let's call it a delayed King's Gambit, because we can notice, and let's just do a backup here, Sahaj, an action replay after the King's pawn opening. Here, if you go f4, that is the King's Gambit. You're giving up a pawn. That f pawn is not defended. But instead, Pragnananda first spins the surprise of d3. Not a move that you see often. Nihal says, okay, I'm going to continue with development. And now, you've got f4. That f pawn's defended.
And he plays d5. I mean, a pretty typical response to strike in the center, but I have to say, huge risk by Prague in the opening with the white pieces. And this might be, this is the type of risk that can pay off, or it can also work completely against you as well. But let's see what happens as he goes knight c3, attacking the queen on d5, and Nihal, for the first time I'm seeing him down on the clock against his opponent in Prague. He's looking super comfortable to me.
But I like this approach that Nihal had of striking in the center with d5 immediately after a move like f4. It's very principled. He brings the queen out, Prague attacks it, and now he, instead of retreating, continues with development. So Nihal has actually taken out the knight, the bishop, the queen with tempos. I wonder if Prague is starting to regret his decision of this offbeat opening.
Not sure as he go. Oh wow! He goes queen e6. Best move in the position so far by Nihal. He has played perfectly despite getting surprised in the opening. And now Prague, I'm sure, is not thinking here. He's thinking. He's probably trying to remember his lines, right? You can see his eyes were closed for a second. There goes pawn takes pawn. Pretty principled move so far. Inviting. There we see it. That was basically a provocation by Prague there. Are you going to capture with the knight or the queen? And for the naked eye, the capturing with the queen makes a lot of sense because it's a check. You're advancing your queen, you're activating your bishop. But actually, knight takes e5 was the better move here, which is not simple to understand unless you have looked at this before.
But I actually like the way Nihal's handling this opening surprise. He's playing quickly, he's sticking to opening principles, and that's super instructive. When you're dealing with a line you weren't expecting, you continue with your development. You keep the pawn structure healthy and intact. Basically, Nihal has made no questionable decisions so far. Maybe knight takes pawn was slightly more accurate. Maybe it's something that Prague already knew how to respond to. He definitely did if you go into this opening. I am impressed with the speed that Nihal is showing right now and the confidence with which he's handling this delayed King's Gambit.
Absolutely agreed. I think he has been showing pretty good chess so far, but Prague is looking very scary to me right now. This kind of reminds me that time when Prague played that delayed Yanish against Vidit in a classical match with the black pieces, and that was absolutely insane to me, and it did end up paying off for Prague. And this is, I think, it's very close to me, this kind of risk that Prague has taken. And considering the fact that we're already in the end game where Prague has maybe 2 minutes extra, I think he's looking quite good.
And what an event it's been for Nihal so far, right? Day one, he scores 50%. He's not in the running at the top. And then 100% on day two. 3 out of 3 is what Nihal, is coming out of. And that was impressive what we saw from Nihal yesterday. A full 3 back-to-back victories there, joining Vishy in the lead, slowly but steadily climbing it up, making it all happen in day 2. So he's got form and momentum on his side. Saj, it's a queenless middle game, as we like to call it. Prague, there was drama, controversy off the board. He's had consistent performance in the tournament so far, currently 1 point behind the leaders, 3.5. He needs to push this for a win with the white pieces. In an endgame like this, or a queenless middle game, do you think that there's more poison than what meets the eye?
I think Prague has very good chances to go for a win here, but okay, depends in the next few moves. I think so far, when you take such a risk in the opening early on, this is one of the most ideal situations you can hope for. There is not much chaos, you have more time on the clock, the position is stable, and you know that you are slightly better in this position and you have studied this more than your opponent. It's the most you can hope for. So I think Prague will be quite comfortable, I think, in this with the outcome of this opening. And let's not forget, Nihal has a really, really difficult day ahead of him. He's playing Prague with the black pieces, then he plays Wesley with the black pieces, and then to end the day, guess who he plays?
The one and only.
Absolutely.
The legend himself. The man himself, the 5-time world champion, who he co-leads right now with. It's Vishy versus Nihal in the grand final round. That's a script you could not have written.
Exactly. So a very tough day, I would say, for Nihal ahead, and playing such strong players, and let's hope he can do well. Any other game that strikes to you?
Well, we speak of Nihal, so we have to go to the Vishy board. I mean, these are the 2 leaders right now going into round 7. Vishy, we saw him at the back of the camera, and there he is, right front and center there. The queens are on the board, and if I had to take a guess on this, it looks like, Sahaj, it's a middle game out of the open Spanish.
Perfect. But right now I'm not even sure who I'm. Looking at the bar, I know Vidit's position looks a bit better. I can see the bar is a bit up there, but I'm looking at the position, not at the bar. And I'm looking at bishop takes h3. I'm looking at rook takes f3. I'm looking at knight takes f2, knight e5. All of these crazy ideas in the position. I mean, look at this bishop, the queen, the knight, the rook. So many pieces looking on the king side. This looks very, very scary for Vidit here.
I think Vidit feels exactly what you're saying, because he runs forward with the knight to try to trade off that central piece. And Saj, maybe we need to show what was happening in that position, because there were tactics everywhere. Knight to g5 needed some calculation because there's a soft pawn on f2.
So black could go knight takes f2 in this position, but now there is bishop takes h7 check. You move the king away, and suddenly it is white who's winning with just one move in the position. Queen h5, you give a discovered check, and queen h7 is just GG there. So a nice calculation by Vidit there. Goes knight g5, Vishy takes, he takes, and now look at this. This is pure class by Vishy. Yeah, just king h8. Beautiful. Just complete prophylaxis against all of these ideas along the king side. For example, if black ever wants to go bishop takes h3, the biggest problem was, Tanya, that I could go queen takes d5 and it could be a check. So nice prophylactic move there by Vishy.
I'm going to point another plus of this move, king to h8. That 8-7 spot that you highlighted earlier, the bishop and the queen can combine and set up a battery against it. It also allows a defensive resource of bishop to g8 at the right moment to defend that pawn. So really, one move, many grooves. That's what king h8 is.
Beautiful, beautifully said. I think much needed, I think, in a position like this as well.
Saj, can you do a quick action replay from the start of this? We were talking about the open Spanish. It's an opening that Vishy has played for so many years. It's quite different from the standard Royal Pair Spanish openings.
Absolutely. So let's take it away. It goes e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and this is what we call the Spanish. And Vishy has been playing this recently a lot. And I think we made a point about this yesterday as well, that between Italian and Spanish, Vishy always goes for the Spanish. And Vidit says, now it's time for you to face this opening with the black pieces. He goes a6, the main line, bishop a4, knight f6 happens, and now Vidit goes short castle. Generally speaking, a lot of modern theory has been directed towards the move d3 or knight c3, where you don't allow black to take on e4. But Vidit says, I'm comfortable if you take the pawn on e4. And the problem with this move is that and I know this from a lot of top chess players, that they just feel very uncomfortable facing knight takes e4. But a lot of players don't actually take it. But Vishy actually took it, and this is what we call the open Spanish. And Vidit was super well prepared. Goes d4, b5, bishop b3 happens, d5. So far we are in mainstream theory. He takes the pawn on e5. Black goes bishop e6, defending the pawn on d5 and developing his bishop at the same time. White plays c3, bishop e7, still mainstream theory. h3 happens. I believe this is the first side step from mainstream theory here. Vishy goes short castle, perhaps the first slight inaccuracy in the position, but still more or less fine. Goes bishop c2, queen d7 happens, maybe looking at this h3 pawn. Vidit goes knight bd2, and now the golden pawn must be pushed, so he goes f5, en passant, it's a rule, you have to take it. Black goes knight f6, rook e1, bishop d6, and I believe this is just about the moment where we came in after knight f1 and knight e4, where the position looked so dangerous for Vidit here, but he neutralized the attack very easily with knight g5. Vishy took, white took back, and now king h8, and now Vidit plays bishop to h4. And this is the current position for us. Why bishop h4, Tanya? What's the point? Is he planning bishop g3 to trade off one of the bishops, or what is his plan?
Oh, and look what Vishy did. He said, you'll show me your plan with it, but I'm going to make the other move that we were talking about. Without even being provoked, he puts the bishop on g8, defending not only the h7 spot, he's lining up the idea of centralizing the rook on e8 and getting some trades going on the open e line with the hope to capture it. And I'll also point out one very thematic approach that Vishy can have. And chat, keep an eye on this move. At the right moment, go d4 if you're black here.
Ooh.
You want to open up that bishop on g8. You're also implying tactics with discovered check on h2. If that pawn is captured, you activate your bishop and you're playing for center activity.
No, let's actually have that on the board, because I love that idea, Tanya, because after knight e3, I believe black can play d4 already.
Let's ask chat.
If you go pawn takes, what is black's next move, chat? I think this is a good moment.
It's a good moment. It's a good moment. What would you play as black here? As you will have a think on that. Vidit?
Tanya spots this, with such speed. It is crazy.
I've played these positions with black watching Vishy's games.
Oh,
growing up.
Right. You play the open Spanish as well. Nice. So d4.
Very thematic idea, and I am sure our chat is ready and sharp. And Sahaj, show us the tactic based on ideas of a discovered check.
The idea is just simply knight takes d4, because white cannot capture back on d4, as we have a discovered check with bishop h2, and next move you're taking the queen, and it is GG. So this is the idea, the main idea behind keeping the king on h8, keeping the bishop on g8. You're wanting to play d4. Vidit now goes bishop g3, and guess what, Tanya? d4 is the best move in this position.
Because now after the trades, you'll simply pick up the bishop, open the queen line and neutralize all of the play there. In the open Spanish, one of black's biggest issues is that central d5 pawn. Unless you push it or get that c7 pawn to join the party from c5, you still haven't solved all your problems. But it looks like Vishy is about to do all of that in a very confident way. And speaking of confidence, it was so impressive to watch what happened on day 2, right? Lost to Arjun from a close to winning position. And that is so easy to go into a spiral after that. But 2 back-to-back comeback dominating wins against Hans Niemann and Murzin just sees him at the top of the leaderboard, showing incredible mental fortitude.
Absolutely. And by the way, his match against Murzin was just absolute top class chess. I mean, that move Rook A1, even Anish, I believe, tweeted about that move yesterday, and that move was just so brilliant. You just have to appreciate the class of Vishy, because him being winning against Arjun is an understatement. He was so winning
Yes.
at 2 minutes extra. It was very easy to just completely go on a downward spiral, but Vishy kept his cool, had 2 wins back to back. Can't expect more from him, yeah.
Too much class going on here. It's just been amazing to watch him in action here at the Tata Steel Chess India. And we've got our eval bars right there as well. We see in the open, all the boards are relatively equal. In fact, Wesley, Arjun, it's an endgame, and I think that might be headed soon towards a draw. Sahaj, Prague versus Nihal as well. It continues where we left it, a queenless middle game, but in the balance. Hans versus Arvind as well. Equal right now. Vidit, Vishy right in front of us. Vishy looks like he's doing everything right. He continues to bring all the toys to the nursery, improves the last piece in the game, rook to d8, and Murzin versus Wei in the balance as well. Should we hop over to our women's section and see what's going on there?
Absolutely. Let's take a look. We have Lagno. Let's start off with her game, because she is the tournament leader and she plays against, well, let's say the underdog of this event, Rakshita Ravi, who had a very good day one, but her day two might not have been the best, as she lost 2 games back to back against Vantika and Vashali. But overall, still a very good performance. She's gaining around 26 points in this event itself. But she has, I would say, a very tough match against Lagno, as she is one of the heavy favorites going into this event. She's playing with the black pieces, and Rakshita is coming off of 2 losses in a row. What do you make of this position, Tanya?
Well, I have to say, for now, it looks pretty healthy, the position for the black pieces. You know, she's managed to get that d5 break in. Rakshita has. The queen is centralized. Again, she's playing with all the pieces towards the center of the board, which makes it incredibly flexible. I don't see any problems. But you know, Lagno, like you said, is such a tricky player. She won the Tata Steel Chess India Blitz last time she was here. She's had great performances in Kolkata. She was 4th in the Rapid, won the Blitz. She's multiple-time women world champion in speed formats, master chess formats. And I also want to say, you know, just doubling down on that, she's the only player, men and women, open and women included, who's undefeated in Kolkata so far. Katrina Lagno has not lost a single game.
Wow, that's a very cool stat right there. Lagno is undefeated. But I have to say, Tanya, I don't like Lagno's position so much here. Like, if I had to choose a color,
You want to
play,
be black.
Of course. Like I think, I mean, same for you, yeah. I mean, it's so easy. I mean, all of your pieces are super well centralized. You play rook e8. I mean, it's a good day.
It's a good moment to be Rakshita right now, but I'll point out a long-term pro in Lagno's position. It's the bishop pair. If it was to ever open up, if the bishops find some active diagonals, we might see a shift in that. But right now, Rakshita's position looking good. Meanwhile, Vantika versus Divya is absolutely wild, Sahaj, and it's Vantika who's on the push with the white pieces. Also, shout out to Dave Chess there, who mentioned that he was in the Dhanadhanya auditorium yesterday and he really enjoyed the experience. That's awesome. If you guys are in Kolkata, there are 2 more days of Blitz coming up. Today is the final rapid day. Do come down and watch all these great stars in action live. It really is something.
It is amazing, actually. Even my mom is sitting outside in the
Yes.
auditorium, so she's also having a really good time there. By the way, mistake by Vantika as she goes e4 in this position. But it seems very logical to me, because Vantika just wants to push e5, bring the bishop to c4, and I still like this position for Vantika. But somehow there must be some tactical reasoning for why this is bad. And we can see from the blue arrow, Divya has to find the move knight c5, or otherwise this could turn out very, very bad for her. And let's remind everyone that Divya has not had the best event so far. She has not won a single game. She's at the bottom of the leaderboard, so is definitely looking for a couple of wins to finish off this event, with high spirits as she goes into the blitz format, and she plays knight c5.
Knight c5 on the board, I think it is also the most human move in the position. You want to provoke that e-pawn to move forward so that you have access towards that d5 square. The knight can jump to that. Not just that, at some point I think Divya wants to try to break with b5, b4. She's also eyelining the b3 check. You know, get your queen to b6, get it to that line, start threatening some some dangerous, potentially dangerous checks before Vantika gets the party started with g4, h4, h5 on the other side.
Absolutely. So it's just gonna become a race at some point. Maybe instead of queen b6 Tanya, I was also thinking of just going b5, a5, b4, and you have a hook in this position, and that could turn out a bit deadly for Vantika.
All right, and with that, I think let's just quickly look at Vashali and Carissa Yip. Carissa Yip currently at second position. She's half a point behind Katrina-Lagno. She's playing against a struggling Vashali, so I think she wants to strike in this one. And with the black pieces, she's got a position where every single pawn, every single piece is on the board. And look what she's done on the queen side. She's completely clamped down with maximum space advantage. It looks like a King's Indian attack to me.
Oh yes, I think it's a King's Indian attack. And if you asked me who is playing this opening with the white pieces, and you didn't tell me, I would say Divya, because this was Divya's like pet line, you know, when she was sort of growing up. And now I feel I don't know. The bar says that Carissa Yip is much better, but I'm just looking at these sacrifices with bishop h6, knight h6, and they look a bit scary to me.
And I love that you pointed that out, because this entire King's Indian attack is sort of, it's a tale of two sides, right? Black focuses complete attention on the left flank, gains maximum space, tries to break through, while white is relying on sacrificial attack on the right flank of the board. It just feels that bishop on f8 does a beautiful job of guarding against those ideas, Sahaj. And you know, once you trade everything in that sacrifice, the queen can slide over to that f8 square and then drive your pieces back. So if Vashali is not able to get knight takes pawn to work, she doesn't have g4, g5, just feels that Carissa might be first to that party on the left side.
Nicely summarized. So maybe we can have it on the board as well. So if I was to take on h6, Tanya says after gh6, by the way Tanya, there's a very interesting move here, g4, which could really open up the position and make it very, very interesting. But you're right, bishop h6 is not as useful because black can just take, and now the queen can jump to f8, and this is the reason why the queen on d8 is still there, because it wants to go to f8, challenge this queen, and eventually play queen g7. Has she just made a move?
She has, and I think she's setting it up. You know, their idea, you briefly mentioned g4 makes things interesting, and she's lining up for it. She wants to give that knight for the h6 pawn and not trade the bishops, but start pushing the g pawn. This one's going to be a firefight. Carissa Yip currently half a point behind Katrina-Lagno. Let's go back to our men's section. There have been a lot of trades in that as Vishy Vidit goes into an endgame. And this is where we are in this position. Looks incredibly balanced to me, Sahaj. 5 pawns apiece. Vishy's bishop attacking a2 currently. That white knight, and he grabs it, allowing rook to a1 to grab the a6 pawn instead. So we might see some trades there. Or will Vidit step in with a knight to f5?
I think rook a1 makes a lot of sense. It's a tempo. Yeah, played. Kick the bishop away as he goes with the bishop to g8, take the pawn on a6, and okay, slightly more comfortable position for Vidit as Vishy's pawns are a bit more broken. There are more pawn islands on as comparison to Vidit's position, but okay, maybe it's not enough to convert into an advantage, but some pressure for sure.
Totally agree. It's two weaknesses versus one weakness on c3. Also, white's rook are better placed to get to that weakness. Rook from a6 laterally attacking d6. Rook from e1 can slide over to d1 or b1, putting pressure. In fact, I think Vidit has some chances to really try this one. And look at this, Vishy is setting up some knight jumps. You know, once the white knight was to move away from e3, for example, let's make a move like knight f5 or knight g4, and then suddenly ideas like knight b4 come into play.
Wow, super sharp. If I take the pawn on b4 and then rook takes c2, and now the f2 pawn is also under attack, so you cannot capture on d6.
You know, Vishy, it's like you would not think of this move, or it might not even come to my mind, leaving my d6 pawn until Vishy plays it, and then it just makes perfect sense. And then you can't unsee it.
Absolutely. So he does go rook c8, and now knight b4 is the threat pointed out by Tanya. Maybe rook b1 here to not allow knight b4 and just to keep some pressure on the b5 pawn anyways. But I'm guessing Vishy is just gonna try to exchange this pawn with this pawn, and he's just gonna sacrifice the b5 pawn, and he's just gonna say, okay, 3 versus 2.
Saj, I think, can we just show this? I don't know if it works or not. Rook to b1, which is the most attractive move. Can Vishy go b4 here? I really want to make tactics on the c line work. b4, pawn takes pawn, knight b8. Oh, and I just realized that the bishop is defended. The knight hasn't moved from e3.
You know, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Doesn't work.
Because we were looking at the move knight f5
Yes.
and you know, it's just the mind works that way in some situations. But yeah, right now b4 is not possible, and with it goes rook b1. I really think that Vishy at some point is just going to sacrifice this pawn on b5 and then trade off c3 with d6. And okay, he's just going to say 3 versus 2. It's an endgame. You can try to play for a win. You can put some pressure, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
One does get the feeling that Vidit is pushing here. You know, he is coming for those pawns, and it's maybe just a little tad bit uncomfortable to be black.
Absolutely. Especially when you are...
Knight b8. The thing is, you might end up in a 3 versus 2. For example, if you go knight b8, you know, at least white has the option to pick up d6, to pick up b5, and then you only lose the c pawn. And then you have this 3 versus 2 dynamic. It should be holdable, but you're suffering.
Yes, essentially. But now, if... I'm guessing you cannot really defend the pawn, yeah? Because you cannot move the rook, the knight hangs. How else are you supposed to defend the pawn on b5? So now it's all about how do you sacrifice the pawn.
Yes, maybe knight e5, maybe knight b8. Basically opening up the c line is what perhaps is going on in Vishy's mind here.
You know, I still really like the move d5 here, Tanya. So because if I go d5, you take the pawn, I play d4, you take the pawn, and this feels like a nice way to sacrifice the pawn. I'm also getting knight takes c2 in the next move. He goes knight e5, your move on the board. I think he's planning that if you take on b5, I will take on c3, and still a very equalish position, but
Yes.
some pressure for Vidit.
He's going to be up a pawn. If Vidit wants, he can be up a pawn. It's 3 versus 2, but that stays closer to a draw territory than a Vidit win territory. Let's quickly check in with Nihal versus Prague. You know, we left it last. The queens came off the board very early on. Lightning Kid always enlightens the board. Can't agree more with that. I mean, you know, it's not only been the result, the scoreline, what's happening on the board, but just the way Vishy has handled the clock. This entire tournament so far, playing players half his age. And I keep bringing up the age factor here because one does think that the faster speed chess formats should suit the younger players more.
No, it definitely does. I mean, if you look at the top chess players in speed chess, I mean, the average age is going to be like 23, 24. And Vishy is
56 years old.
more than double the age. Yeah, I mean, which is absolutely crazy to think about. The fact that he can still perform at this level against the best players in the world. You know, very interesting sort of symmetry there is that Nihal and Vishy, both of them are tournament leaders, and both of them are slightly worse in an endgame, and both of them trying to hold off their opponent's sort of attack.
With the black pieces.
With the black pieces as well. I think we are setting, the tournament is setting up perfectly for that final match between Nihal and Vishy, and it's going to be a lot of fun because I think it's going to go down exactly to the last round.
Alright, so you're mentioning that Prague here has the slight edge. And I'm trying to understand that a little bit more. You know, it's equal material right now, and we see Nihal's last move just defends everything on the 7th rank. The other rook can come to e8, double up. That to me, it feels that this one might be less pressure than what's going on Vishy's board. Because in that, I think Vidit will at least be tangibly a pawn up.
I think it's the other way.
Really, very interesting.
Because I think with Vidit's board, there are less pawns on the board. It's just 3 versus 2.
Yes.
So, I mean, at least mentally, you have accepted, okay, I'm not going to win this match. I'm trying to hold off for draw, and that makes things a bit easier. For Nihal, I think he still has 3 results in his mind, and there's a lot more pieces on the board. There's a lot more pawns on the board. A lot more room for error for both of these players. And I think Nihal has to be a bit careful.
Yeah, there's a lot still left on the board in this one, a lot to play for. We'll come back to this. This is going to be a grind. I want to run to Arjun versus Wesley, another very fascinating endgame with different color complex of the bishop. Currently, Arjun has an extra pawn. It's 6 versus 5. The white rook also hits the c5 pawn. Wesley's last move comes in with a double attack. But it does feel that in this case as well, Arjun's going to go up a pawn at the end of it.
I think so, yes. But the question is, where do you put the bishop? And chat, what is the worst place to put this bishop? That's my question to you. The worst place.
I notice you love these questions of
Yes.
what not to do.
Exactly. I think those are the most fun.
They're the most fun, and they're also very instructive because, you know, very often it can be through process of elimination, and this one's a bit of a trick question.
Yes.
Did
it
you
is.
notice the trick?
Yes.
Because at first, you know what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And then I realized that, wait a second, there's something worse than that. This is actually a brilliant question, Sahaj. The more I look at it, the more I love it. Chad, what is the worst move? Actually, it might be just the worst move in the position.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Not just with the bishop, it's just the worst move in the position.
And there is one, I think, more.
It's almost to say white to play and lose.
Yeah, white to play and lose. Yeah.
White to play and lose on the spot. White to play and lose right
Well,
now.
I mean, you can still sack the rook, but I
No,
think
but that's... No. But that is not as bad as this.
then I don't have to sack the rook.
Uh-huh. Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
In one case, I have to sack the rook. In the other one, I don't. Exactly. And Chad is getting it. Bishop f3 is the move which allows for this beautiful f5 check. But it's not a checkmate, of course, because
Yes,
white can go
but
rook
it's
f5.
beautiful.
But it's beautiful. Indian. And I think, Tanya, you were saying bishop d3, yeah, in this position.
I know, I was actually going to say bishop to g4. I just thought that walks into the fork of f5, and I realized it's not even that bad anymore.
Actually, like, white
Might be one of the better moves in the position.
white is still fine. In fact, white can still play for a win after bishop f5.
That
F5,
is
F5.
shocking.
Wow. So even if you try to make a mistake, it doesn't happen, yeah?
So,
That's
that is a very sweet way to put it and make me feel better about that. I would not have won that competition, but bishop f3 would lose on the spot. But look at this. In fact, Arjun is sacrificing a whole bishop, but in a different way, Sahaj. He doesn't even touch the bishop. He's gone for rook takes pawn. He's about to give up that bishop. He wants to give a check and start collecting the pawns on the left side of the board. This is Arjun playing for a win against Wesley So.
Yup, 100%. So let's have it on the board. Rook takes e2, by the way, is the only move in this position. Arjun goes rook c7 check, only move once again. The king moves somewhere, let's say e8, d6 or f6. Personally, I would put it on f6, but it does block the bishop. Let's just have a move on the board just for the sake of it. White goes rook takes b7, and now we have 1, 2 and 3 pawns for the bishop. And white's king is super active. The pawns are well connected. Black's bishop is not actively placed. These are very important points
Yes.
that describe why Arjun is the one who's playing for a win here.
And it just makes me think about what you mentioned the other day, right? Regardless of the color, regardless of the position, regardless of what's on the board, what's going on, who he's playing against, Arjun always creates chaos. He's the king of chaos. In an endgame like this, with opposite color bishop, he's managed to create an imbalance, which now means it's a 3-result game from being a 2-result one.
Absolutely. With Arjun, it's always a 3-result game, yeah? That's what... For me, he's the master of imbalances. He just
What a decision. So brave and
Just-
so gutsy.
does it by instinct.
Yes.
That's what is so scary for me.
Alright, well, we'll see if this gamble pays off or not for Arjun. Sahaj, let's go back to Vidit and Vishy, because Vidit, he's not gone for that line with an extra pawn which would have liquidated the material further. But I still think there's pressure on Vishy in this position right now. The clocks are ticking. Vishy, as usual, ahead on that timer. He's trying to get the pieces off the board. And you're doing a quick action replay. The white rook came back. The black rook went forward, hitting the bishop right now. There's an attack on the rook and the knight. And this is Vishy to play. The knight, thankfully, is defended by that bishop on g8. What Vidit is aiming for is to trade his bishop for the knight and then win the d6 pawn. He wants to keep a pawn advantage, but also with a knight versus bishop imbalance.
I think that makes a lot of sense. This is why I'm a bit confused as to why Vishy did not sacrifice the pawns. Well, exchange the pieces and then go into the simpler endgame. But now I think Vidit's chances are definitely quite decent here.
You know what? I had the same feeling, but now I feel like I'm eating my own words, because the way Vishy's placed the rook, firstly, it's not going to be easy to capture on d6. Second, there is a proper x-ray on the f line. The rook from d2 and the rook from f8 really hit on that f2 spot.
The golden pawn for a reason. So, but it's not that simple. If white can definitely take on c4 and black will capture back. Oh, by the way, he does not take on c4, and that has to be an inaccuracy, because correct me if I'm wrong, Tanya, can I not just play g6 and hello, golden pawn?
Golden Pawn is saying, hello, is it me you're looking for? Shout out to Adele.
Wait, he does not play it. He goes knight to e5, and that is a big mistake by Vishy, because as we can see from the blue arrow, knight takes d6 is what
Vidit's
Vishy
about to
missed.
play. You know, the way he reached out, he was reaching for the knight. Sorry, Saj.
Yes, absolutely. I think Vidit has seen it and Vishy has missed it. Yeah, he's going for the knight. He is definitely going for the knight.
When I look at Vishy's hands, I start feeling the tension. I start feeling the nerves. They're always like calculating and fidgety, and it's just like, oh my god, what's going on in the mind of a genius?
Oh, brilliancy by Vidit there. He goes knight f3 check. Now rook takes d6. I think this is Vishy kind of pretending that he saw this. But I feel, because this is what you do in a game, yeah? You don't let them see that you missed something. You never let your opponent see that you missed something.
Do you think it's that, or did Vishy actually feel that this, with its pawn structure completely destroyed, it was the only move to play as well? If you're about to lose a pawn, you lose it in the best way possible. And Vishy actually thinks that this 3 versus 2 on one side, doubled f pawn, c pawn weak, he's got a good holding chance here.
I mean, so I think if we look at this position, and let's try to have the other position on the board as well, and let's try to see if Vishy did this on purpose or not. So g6 was the other move, knight e3, fa3, and now we're comparing this position to this one. And here Vishy is 2 pawns down.
Yes,
there is a pawn, there is an outside pawn which has no opponent. I feel like this was not intentional by Vishy as he goes rook g5.
And we see these amazing tweets by all of you watching here with the hashtag TSCI 2026. This is our big giveaway, Sahaj. Tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite players. By the way, it has been amazing to see the response of this. You guys have been super creative, super funky with your answers. We will announce the winner today. Some amazing prizes coming your way. We will have a winner at the end of the day. The contest is still open. So tweet us with who is your favorite player without telling us your favorite player.
Wow, and by the way, looks like the gamble has worked, because the pawn on c3 is gone.
And I mean, that pawn disappears, then this 3 versus 2 is a dream 3 versus 2 for Vishy.
Oh yes, of course. I mean, you could, initially the pawn was on g2, but now with these double pawns, there is basically no way that he can go for it. And I'm very curious to see what Vidit actually missed here, because this is huge oversight.
Now, you know, you can even tell from Vishy's body language, he knows everything is under control in this position. He's calm, Vidit trying to see how can he keep maximum chances, reaching for that bishop. He can place it anywhere. c4 doesn't work as well. It's 3 versus 2 when it comes to the attackers and defenders. He puts it on d3, and Vishy there trades the rooks off. Do you think Vidit plays this on, or will he offer a draw?
I think Vishy just offered a draw and Vidit did not accept it.
Oh, do you see that?
I think Vishy did just offer a draw, yeah. I saw it. He was looking at him.
Okay.
Could be wrong though,
it.
but Vidit, okay, for Vidit it's a risk-free position, but I think it's for Vishy also it's a risk-free position.
Look at the amazing speed with which Vishy is playing. I mean, for me, that has been just incredible to watch. You know, he's got a 3.5 minute advantage on the clock right now. He quickly got that g-pawn moving, blunted that white bishop, got the king towards the center of the board, is finding that perfect defensive setup. And so most likely this one will end in a draw. Meanwhile, the other leader, Prague versus Nihal, is also quite tricky. And I think that one not so close to a draw.
Yeah, I think the game is on. Prague having very little time on the clock. He goes king b1 with 15 seconds. This could heat up very quickly. The position is more or less calm, stable.
And we can also see our evaluation bar of all the boards down there. So it does feel that Arjun has that slight advantage. That gamble of the piece sacrifice for 3 pawns is paying off so far. But we'll stay to our leaders right now, you know, with the clock sticking low. Nihal currently under 30 seconds. Prague as well. I think this is anyone's game right now. A lot of twists and turns lie ahead.
Yes, 20 seconds. Has to play fast.
Prague with no time on the clock, we know what can potentially happen.
Almost like feels like it was just yesterday.
Wonder why.
Goes rook f5. Prague play fast. 10 seconds. He goes rook to e1 there, pinning the bishop. Let's also explain to the chat that Prague has a slight pull in this position because Nihal has this isolated pawn on g7, and it's not. It can become a passed pawn if it's a king pawn ending, but with all the pieces on the board, this is an isolated. It's a weak pawn. It can be targeted, unlike the other pawns, and that's what Prague is banking on.
Let's go full screen on this because we can also see Vidit and Vishy in the background there. So whenever the handshakes happen, we're expecting that one to end in a draw. We can watch that unfold in the background. Meanwhile, this one, yeah, no handshakes coming in anytime soon. A sacrifice to trade off pieces, gives up an exchange temporarily to land a fork, and that g7 pawn. I think that's a great point you make. That's what the fight is about. He's going to go rook e.
It's about to get taken. Rook e7, there was a stake and bishop g5.
Bishop g5.
And now we just lose the pawn on g7, and there's a bishop versus knight imbalance as well. So
and this is 4 versus 3. This is Prague making a lot of progress in this.
oh yeah, progress indeed incoming. By the way, there is a slight error with the DGT board. This was the position. He went rook g7, so the square is on g7 here. I'm going to try to make the moves manually. Gives a check. King a2 and knight e6 is what happens on the board.
He is indeed bringing his A game right now. As Nihal looks ahead, I think he's checking out what's going on Vishy's board right now. As he was looking at the background there, he comes back with his knight. He looks like he's quite comfortable and confident about this hold, but this is not easy. A 4 versus 3, a bishop versus knight imbalance. This was the dream that Vidit had against Vishy.
Oh yes, absolutely. He goes rook g2. Okay. King comes out to d7.
By the way, it's the head.
Does he win or no?
You know what? I don't know about this, but I think Arjun wins against Wesley very soon. Do you want to quickly jump over to that? This game will go on for a while.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Arjun versus Wesley. What a decision it was by Arjun to sacrifice a piece for 3 pawns. Right now, he's about to win that piece back. What happened here? Rook takes bishop, king takes bishop, and that's simply one extra pawn for Arjun.
He's right now deciding which piece to recapture with.
Yeah, but Wesley, something forced him to give up his material back. Amazing play by Arjun. And Saj, maybe you'll break this game down for us as we go into that break before round 2 starts to see what really happened here.
We definitely should deep dive into that position where he decided to give up a piece for 3 pawns. He goes b6.
And now Arjun just pushing through. He's about to bag the victory in this one. Sahaj, let's go back to Vidit versus Vishy. And there in the back we see Vishy. I think he once again gave the look, this 3 versus 2. And there we have it just on this moment. Vidit exhausting all resources there. And in the end, smiles. I think a fair result. Vidit was putting a little bit of pressure, but Vishy strong defenses there.
Absolutely.
Never out of hand.
And look at the time, 6 minutes on the clock when the match finishes. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up for Vishy, playing super quickly. And let's go on to Arjun versus Wesley because Arjun is about to finish his match. He could potentially join the leaders. Wait, that was a mistake by Arjun, and now e5 brings Wesley back into the game.
Wesley So finds a way back. Arjun made the most natural move in the position, and that's what the clock tells you, right? You look at that and just how easy it is to make mistakes when you've got no time on the clock. And this is what happened to Arjun. 1 inaccuracy, and look at that. What Wesley wants is to trade off the A pawn for the B pawn. He's saying come and take it, and then 3 versus 2 with Wesley's king on G6 will end in a draw. That's an easy hold.
Absolutely. So if he goes rook A7, for example,
just take B6.
Just take B6, you take on A4, 3 versus 2 is very easy to hold.
We're going to see this being played out. And there was nothing to be done because Wesley was coming A3, A2. He captures, and 3 versus 2. This will be held to a draw. Sahaj, what is still not an easy hold is Nihal, our other co-leader at the start of this round right now, in a struggling position against Prague, but still within holdable realms.
Yes, but Prague played his last move with 3 seconds on the clock. By the way, there it is. Wesley and Arjun have agreed to a draw. Arjun didn't see any point in continuing that 3 versus 2 rook endgame, conserving his energy. And as we go back to Prague versus Nihal, where Prague has a very genuine chance to play for a win with the white pieces.
And with Wesley's draw, it means he stays within striking distance of the leader. Vishy has drawn his game. Wesley draws his game from a dead lost position. Maybe it is the goddess of chess, Carissa, smiling on Wesley after what happened yesterday. You showed sportsmanship there, and you will save this one. The law of averages.
Yeah, karma, indeed. White goes king c1, and he goes knight c7. Maybe he can still hold this, Tanya. I am not liking this for Nihal so much. I don't know. I feel like having this bishop and knight imbalance in this position can be a bit deadly.
Saj, I think let's quickly go to Hans versus Arvind. We see the evaluation bar there suggesting that Hans is close to winning right now. By the way, Volodar Murzin scores his first win at the Tata Steel Chess India, and against none other than the giant, than the Chinese dragon there, Wei.
I mean, if someone had to say that Volodar Murzin is going to score his first win against someone, Wei he would be the last person I would guess.
Yes.
He's so solid. But yes, great result for Murzin there, getting his first win. And now Hans playing against Arvind, also looking for his win. And if he wins, he's also going to be on 4.5, joining pretty much Wesley, and only going to be half a point behind Vishy and potentially Nihal. So the tournament is completely wide open if Hans wins this.
And I also want to point out, Hans is one of the contenders, but he needs a series of wins to really join at the top of the leaderboard. He had a tough day too. He'll get this one. He'll need a strong showing in the next game as well. Arvind at the bottom of the leaderboard. So let's go back to our leader. Nihal versus Prague right now. And look at the speed with which the players are playing. Prague, he's got an extra pawn in the position. But for Nihal, 31 seconds, that's an eternity. Meanwhile, for Prague, he's playing on his final seconds.
And isn't that pawn just hanging on b4? No more extra pawn, right? Yeah, no more extra pawn. Sigh of relief for Nihal there. And this is a very critical moment. Is Prague still gonna play? Because this could be dangerous for him.
I think this is where you maybe just try to bail out now. I want to point out that 8 passers will start looking menacing once it goes up the board. It just feels a lot stronger than that D passer that, that Prague has right now. But the fact that Prague did not trade the bishop for the knight,
I think he's still trying to play for a win, but not so simple.
and I want to point out bishop takes knight, rook takes bishop. C4 was potentially just an immediate handshake there.
But Prague hasn't accepted that it's a draw yet.
Yes.
That's where it gets a bit tricky, Tanya, because now this is where you can make a very, very big mistake, because mentally you haven't accepted the situation yet. But let's see how he continues. Plays knight c6. You see, already I'm starting to like Nihal's position way more here.
And meanwhile, Hans Niemann does convert that endgame flawlessly. Great technique there, gets a win, makes a case for his chase in his campaign here. Let's head back straight to Nihal versus Prague. And the leaderboard going into the penultimate round now depends on this one. What's going to happen right at the top? Will there be a shared first place going into the penultimate round? If Nihal wins, he takes sole lead. And the fact that there's a knight-bishop imbalance, Sahaj, I still think that this is not a given draw as long as the bishops and the knights are on the board.
It's not a given draw, but who are you taking here? Because I somehow feel that if white overpresses here, it can go really bad for him. Because all I need to do is get my king out of the back rank. So knight d7, bring the king forward, start pushing my pawns, and suddenly I like Nihal's position more. Like Tanya, if I played a careless move like d4, knight c4 check, and suddenly Nihal could be winning as well.
And that's the thing, knights are super tricky pieces, right? Especially with pawns on only one flank of the board. If you had pawns on the right side as well, I think Prague would be the one pushing for the win here with the bishops. Rook takes rook is an immediate handshake. Look at that, Prague is playing for more. He wants more from this position. He's fighting it out. But that's how you win games, Sahaj. With this time control, it's 15 minutes they start with a 10-second increment. Anything can happen, and Prague believes in his chances. But if he believes in his chances, he needs to get the d pawn moving up the board. Knight takes pawn was a big threat. He moves the bishop away.
Yep, that knight takes d3 and rook takes e3. I mean, Nihal being sneaky here, but Prague does not fall for it. Retreats the knight back to d7, goes king b3, and now Nihal is looking for a way to bring his king forward. But it's not possible right now because the knight on d7 is under attack. Should he just wait? Like rook c6, rook g6 makes a lot of sense here.
So any trade, rooks or knights, gets closer towards that result that Nihal desires, which is a draw, which would mean that Vishy and Nihal continue their lead at the top.
Yes.
If Nihal loses this position, Vishy would be the sole leader going into the penultimate round.
That is insane, but I think the more insane part is him actually losing this. I don't think he's gonna actually lose this. Very, very difficult. Goes rook e7, by the way, and king d8 or king c7 is possible. This is the lifeline that Nihal was looking for to activate his king. That's the only problem in the position. He doesn't do it.
He wants to set up rook e5 next. He wants to force that trade of the rooks. Nihal says not going to allow it. Prague even.
Let's bring the king out. Plays a5. Okay, no access to the king. Also advancing his own pawn. a4. I would avoid a move like a4 for now because king b4 activates my king, puts pressure on b5 and a4. So I would keep this pawn on a5 at bay. I think it looks very good.
The point of a5 was probably not to push a4, but just to keep that king, stopping that king from moving forward. So he keeps the position under control. He'll only push a4 if concretely it is working. If you have a sequence of moves ahead, he improves his position of the king. Nihal does. But it's clear that it's Prague who's pushing in this position. He had about 100 chances to bail out, to go into the next round, but he keeps playing on.
I think he's been trying to play for a win. As he goes knight c5 check, and Prague, again, if he wants to draw, he can just take the knight on c5. But he does not. And I don't like the direction this game is going because I feel like this could go badly for Prague. I'm getting a bad feeling about this, Tanya. He goes b4. Like, he's making all the right moves, Nihal. And if we compare this position from, let's say, 10 moves ago, it was like this. And look at this. Only black's pawns have improved. Nothing else has improved. Nothing else has changed in this position besides black's pawns being on a5 and b4. And white has made no progress.
It's as though Prague is over-ambitious and he's doing everything to improve, but like you said, he hasn't really done it. That d pawn is still on d3. Your king is still only on the second rank. You've just been shuffling the rook and the bishop, and look at those two menacing-looking pawns now. And the thing is, whatever the bar says, you know, playing on seconds, this starts to look quite tricky and scary for white.
Yes, absolutely. He goes bishop e3. I'm not even sure what his plan is because d4 just looks bad because the knight e4, knight c3 aa jayega, and then a3, a2 looks so scary.
7 seconds for Nihal. He attacks the bishop. Bishop takes knight, I still feel, is just your safety button.
Okay, bishop takes c5 is a safety button, but he's still playing for a win. He goes bishop d2. Okay, now the pawn on b4 is attacked. Some hope for Prague here.
Gives a check, forcing the king to move either backwards or on a2. But the question, how will he defend b4? Will he retreat with his...
Because if he moves king a2, Tanya, I have rook e2 just,
Yes.
and rook c2 check is...
He's done it. King a2. Let's see what happens. The rook e2 is the move that you're advocating for. Makes a lot of sense. But then it's a 2 versus... It's at least an extra pawn for white.
It goes b3 check. Oh, wait. Is that...
He's
takes?
just forcing matters. Takes and you go rook e2. If pawn takes pawn, rook e2, and you're winning the piece.
Are we seeing rook knight versus rook, and it is Prague who has to defend this now?
No, he doesn't go for that. He takes with the other pawn on a3. The king comes back. He doesn't allow that pin on d2, which would have lost the bishop.
Now he goes king c7, attacking the rook on d4, and look at this. There's a no tactic with rook d4.
You know, you were saying rook knight versus king. I think rook bishop versus rook is a very likely outcome in this. And If that happens, it's not something you really want as black to defend rook, bishop versus rook.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal as he goes rook e2. And look at this with king
King
c2. Ooh, look at this tactic.
Beautiful.
Rook d2 is actually a draw here.
And I think this might play out. So let's just see that happen. This will play out. At the end, the knight will give a fork and it's Nihal with the opposition. And there we have it. The king will eventually step up to d6.
Yep. Takes. And now king d6. And we have a proper opposition on the board.
And they'll play till that stalemate position or look at each other and shake hands. I'm going to predict the stalemate position at the end. Actually, it's a king versus king. He just gives up the pawn. But what a forced sequence of moves there by Nihal at the end. Really nice way of pulling the brakes and finishing things off to stay at the top with Vishy.
Nice save there by Nihal. He kept his cool despite the pressure from Prague. I think, for me, I think Nihal looks fantastic. Yeah? And for Prague, he has a difficult road ahead of him. He's playing Vishy now, and then he plays Wei Yi. So he has to score 2 wins to be in the contention for the lead. Not going to be easy.
But you know, it's two more games to go. It's only a half a point difference that is separating most players. So it's still quite a field wide open. Look at that. You got in the open Vishy Nihal at 5 out of 7. What a score that is. Can we just point out? 5 out of 7 in this field. Incredible run by both these players. And what a story, right? Vishy being the oldest in the field. Let's have back on our screen. Vishy being the oldest in the screen. Vishy being the oldest in the field, and Nihal Serene, a last minute replacement here for Gukesh at the top. And then you've got Wesley and Hans at 4.5 apiece. That's just a half a point difference there. So definitely in contention. Then you've got 2 more players. The Indian duo of Arjun and Prague, half a point behind them. Saj, I'm going to say that, you know, the top 6, all within striking distance here. It's 2 rounds remaining. Anything can happen between these top 6.
I think also really depends on who they're playing against, because the matches are really, really important. For Prague, I think it's very, very difficult because you have, as we mentioned, he's playing against a tournament leader, Vishy, and then he plays against Wei Yi as well. So that's not going to be easy. However, in the women's section, if we can have those standings as well.
Yeah, let's have the standings back on our screen.
Yeah, look at that. Lagno is already a 1.5 ahead of the entire field.
I mean, that is her running away with it. That is incredible. And that was because she won her last game, Sahaj, and she won it in dominating style. And then 1.5 points ahead with only 2 rounds remaining. You know, a draw at least guarantees a playoff for her. And that is an incredible performance. And Lagno has always been so impressive in Kolkata. And 1.5 points ahead of Nana and Carissa, Yip right there. And the thing is that Carissa Yip, from a dominating position, went down to Vashali in that last round. And in fact, Saj, that's the game that I want you to review along with Arjun's game. Because that's the reason we're seeing the standing shape up the way it is. So while on one side you got Lagno running away with the rapid potion, the open is completely open.
The open is just complete. I think it's just going to go to it might even go to tie breaks, but we'll have to see, what happens there as we pull up the game. Wow.
That's a checkmate
Hey,
incoming
shall we take a look at this game? Because
that's the one I was saying. Like Vashali versus Carissa is what I want you to take us through, because I saw that last position.
We were looking at this. I believe we were checking it out, and it was King's Indian attack, and I believe it came from a different move order. Usually you start with e4, but okay, this is also a pretty nice move order. You get e4 eventually. Black plays knight c6, and usually you play e5 and then h4, and then you try to attack on the king side. But she takes her time. She goes rook e1, queen c7, plays e5. She attacks the pawn on e5 here. Queen e2 to defend this. b5, knight f1. Very typical move in these positions. You want to play h4, bring the knight to h2, bring the knight to g4, and eventually you sack something on h6, like we were mentioning a bit earlier. Black plays bishop b7. She goes h4, rook c8, h5, h6. Usually you don't want to allow the move h6 from the white side, as it can prove deadly in the long run, as black's king on g8 is going to remain unsafe for a very, very long time. So Carissa Yip plays h6 in this position. Vashali goes bishop f4, black plays a5, knight h2, queen d8. And I just want to point out that so far Carissa has done everything right.
Yeah.
She has not made a single mistake. She's the rook on c8, the queen on d8, everything shows that she knows this position really, really well. Practically, it's still very hard to convert afterwards as well. As we will see, white goes queen d2, b4. Again, very typical knight g4, bishop f8, preparing for this knight h6 type of ideas. King h2 happens, a4, bishop h3, a3. I mean, such precision. She's playing with. White goes b3, and now she goes rook a6. Beautiful move, sort of keeping an eye on this rank, keeping an eye on the e6 square. Maybe you want to play knight d4 at some point, and maybe the rook can go to c6 to attack the c2 pawn, provided that you take on d4. White goes rook g1, and this is where we left the game, where it was a bit confusing, but very difficult for Vashali to sort of convert. And look at the time difference as well. 11 minutes for Carissa, 4 minutes for Vashali. Everything is going wrong for her, but it's just that h6 pawn, that king safety, that's going to prove deadly for Carissa here.
And you could almost, in fact, until the last move, divide the board into two halves, right? You had all of Carissa's pieces on the left flank, so Vashali, sensing her opportunity on the right side with the king alone, goes for a killer attack.
And look at this, she was actually offering a repetition in this position, and Vashali says no. And now knight d4, she plays the best move.
Look at the setup that Vashali's taken. How impressive is that? A rook on g1, a rook on f1, all just preempting and getting ready for those sacks that are eventually going to deliver checkmate.
Absolutely. And look at the way, the knight has moved as well from this position. Look, knight e7, knight c6, knight d4, and knight f5. So many moves with the knights here. She goes rook c6, bishop f2.
I want to point out that even if, objectively, the evaluation is that black is doing well, from a human perspective and a human sentiment, you see all your pieces, your opponent's pieces coming towards your king on the other side. It's very terrifying. You need a lot of time on the clock to prove that your position's healthy as black here.
Yes, for sure. And it's not easy because so many breaks are possible, the c4, d4, and you always have to keep an eye on the h6 pawn. And by the way, this is probably where she made the mistake with knight b5, and now knight h6 was possible, but she goes f5, just launching an attack. And here Carissa made a huge blunder with queen g5, missing bishop e3. I'm guessing she missed bishop e3 altogether, because if you go queen h5 here, there is not knight f6 check, because knight f6 check would allow knight takes f6 and the knight defends, but instead we have knight takes h6 check, and the queen on h5 just falls. So a big blunder by Carissa here. And I think it's possible as well. Black plays queen d8. Now you go f6. She goes knight c3. And queen goes here. I mean, such a perfect position for Vashali, Just sacks everything on the h6 pawn.
Let's see how she actually finished this off, because she's really placed the pieces so well, then continued to open up the f line, has planted a pawn on f6. The knight comes in, could not have been taken because queen takes pawn was game over there. She didn't even really need to sacrifice any piece. That's how beautifully flawless her attack was engineered. And this last move, queen to g8, that's checkmate. You take the knight on h6, queen takes bishop, queen g7, the kiss of death, checkmate. This was game over. Quite a masterclass on attack.
I think this, if anybody wants to learn King's Indian attack, I think they should definitely use this game as one of the model games that you can sort of reference. I think a beautiful game by Vashali here, showing that the bar doesn't tell the whole story.
It really doesn't, especially when you have faster speed chess formats with rapid time controls. And with that win, Carissa is now 1.5 points behind Katrina Lagno, who won her game in convincing manner against Rakshita Ravi. I want us to go through one more game set before the penultimate round starts, which is Hans versus Arvind. We were focused on the leaders at that time. For Arvind, it's been a struggle, the tournament. He's been at the bottom of it. But Hans, I think he really took advantage of it. He never really gave Arvind the chance, and there was a flawless technique at the end. But let's take it from the top and see how Hans did it.
I think let's do it. So we have another Sicilian on the board played by Arvind. By the way, Arvind having not the best tournament. He's on 1 out of 7 so far. 2 draws he has made and the rest were losses. So wishing the best recovery for him there. White goes d4, takes, and we have the classical Sicilian. Hans goes bishop g5, e6, queen d2. So far we are in mainstream theory. Long castle happens and bishop d7. And now white has these 2 moves, f3 and f4 possible. Hans opts for the f3, historically the more aggressive option of the 2. He takes on d4, queen takes d4, and black plays bishop c6. And now king b1, h6, and you bring the bishop back to e3. Basically, the point is that black can never castle on the short side because you have these g4, h4, g5 ideas, and this pawn on h6 acts as a hook. And d5, the only move in the position played by Arvind, takes the pawn, takes knight d5, queen d5, queen d5, and bishop d5. And basically, we're in the endgame very early on, and Arvind having more time on the clock. Two rooks, two bishops each. And somehow Hans outplayed him here. Goes c4, bishop c6, bishop d3, plays h5. Beautiful move, I think, by Arvind, trying to clamp down the king side structure. Plays h3, long castle. Very interested to see how Arvind actually lost this because.
Yes, I was saying the same thing. I mean, you can see the dark square holes there, a slight lack of coordination development in Arvind's forces here. And I wonder if instead of that h5 move, it was time for him to develop his pieces. Because it just feels like the rook on h8 just took a while to come into the game, Sahaj. But totally agree with you. How did Hans win this? Let's take a look.
Some crazy technique there. So a3, bishop d6 puts the bishop back, not allowing this rook d8.
Very healthy position for black.
Takes. How do you win this as white? Is crazy to me actually. King c8, b4. Black plays b5, and by the way, c5 looks very logical to the naked eye, but it's actually not the best move in this position. Apparently, you're supposed to go cb5, but Hans sees beyond the bar. He says, let's take the risk. Let's play c5. Goes rook d8, rook d1, bishop d5. Still very curious. Not clear at all how he's winning here. Maybe must be a blunder by Arvind there. By the way, bishop takes g7 is not possible because there's rook g8 and rook g2, and it is black who would be leading the charge in this position. White goes bishop d3 and bishop f4 happens. King b2 happens and f5 pushing
Still level. The position's still level. If anything, it looks like it's Arvind who's getting ambitious.
Exactly. He goes a4, breaking on the queen side, and now, okay, some chances. You can put the rook on a1, play rook a6 check. Some hope there. And Arvind goes bishop c4, the best move again. Bishop e4 check, nice tactic. King c7 avoided, takes, and now bishop c6. And now Arvind was the one who had a realistic chance of getting a win here, but he just played h4 in this position.
Not bishop f1. Was bishop f1 a possibility?
g5 is very strong here apparently,
okay.
and bishop f1 you can play in the next move. I think because you don't want to give up the pawn on g7, and this is what Arjun, what Hans actually went for. King c7 takes the pawn, puts the bishop back, and now he attacks the pawn on g2, and he goes bishop f6, bishop g3, and now this is probably the move which he missed. And now it looks like Hans has a very realistic shot of winning this position. He takes the pawn on f4, bishop h4, takes the pawn on g2, takes the pawn on b5, takes the pawn on h3. Like you can see, a very interesting imbalance has arisen in the double bishop endgame, where Hans's pawns are slightly more advanced in comparison to Arvind, and this is what he capitalized on. Goes bishop c4, goes bishop d5, trying to set up this pawn with b5 and b6. Black plays bishop f1, not allowing b5. Pushes the king forward, bishop e7, plays king a4, and now finally we have b5 and b6 check incoming, and look at this conversion towards the end. I think it's at the end probably for Arvind it was just in time pressure managed to lose, yeah?
The double bishop, nothing to be done there, and with that, Hans Niemann keeps his hopes alive of a podium finish. Let's bring up our standings because this is how it shaped up at the end of it, and we're about to start a very, very crucial penultimate round here. Only 2 games remain in the rapid, and Sahaj, in both the open and the women's section in round 7, we had only 2 wins in each of these sides, and both wins were with the white pieces. This is where we stand: 2 wins, 3 draws in both of them, and Vishy, Nihal at the top with 5 points. You've got Wesley, Hans just half a point behind, and then another half a point behind Arjun and Pragnananda. Vidit at 3.5, I think he's looking for a strong finish, but he needs 2 back-to-back wins for that, along with, I think with Weyi at 2, that's where we can cut off. The top 7 is where we can cut off the field for that podium finish at the end of it in the open.
Yeah, the top 6 or maybe even top 4 could be for me, especially with just 2 rounds remaining. But it comes down to the pairings, who is going to play against whom. And by the way, the Vishy is going to play against Nihal in the final, so that's going to be very, very important. As we can see, the open pairings, if we can have that on the screen, there we see it. Which match appeals to you the most, Tanya?
It's going to be the center stage, the center court match right there, right? It's Vishy versus Prague. And that is absolutely mouth-watering given what the standings are, given what's at stake right now, the form that the two players are in currently. For Pragnananda, who's at 4 points, a win against Vishy puts him in the race. Puts him in the race right at the top in that final round. Let's have our standings. Let's have the pairings back on the screen as we discuss this. And it's not just that. You've got Nihal playing a player who is incredibly hard to beat. You know, Wesley, he's looking for those opportunities to punish his opponent, the chance that he gets. But for Nihal, if he has to continue his run, he needs a good result here. So I think those two pairings are going to be our marquee matchup. And Arjun versus Hans. How do you even make a pick in this one of the most critical round?
I mean, I'm going with Arjun because I think he plays with the white pieces, and I mean, but it's very difficult for him to be a tournament leader.
Yes.
Simply because he's 1 point away. So if he does manage to get at the top, he's going to have a tie break at the end. But yeah, it's going to be a chaotic match for sure.
And these are the two players first to arrive as well. For Hans Niemann, he's only half a point behind the leader, so a big one. This is one game we will be checking in with it regularly along with Vishy and Nihal's battle. Huge fights coming here. Wesley So as well, just half a point behind on the leaderboard. And let's bring up our women's pairing, just seconds away from the penultimate round to kick off. And Saj, this is a huge one as well, because we've got Carissa taking on Katrina Lagno. That is the marquee matchup in the women's section. Anyone can catch up, it's Carissa. She's a point and a half behind. She needs only one result, and that's a win against Lagno.
So basically, if Lagno can hold off Carissa, she would win this tournament round to spare, essentially. There is Nana as well, who's on 4 points, 1.5 points ahead, so she's playing against Vantika. But more or less, it would seal the deal for her, right?
So fair to say that Carissa versus Lagno is going to be our marquee matchup in the women that we're going to be focusing most of our attention on. And in the open section, it's going to be, well, three big pairings that we've got with Vishy against Pragnananda, Nihal against Wesley, and that is absolutely huge for both these players. And then finally, Hans versus Arjun.
Wow. Gonna be an interesting penultimate round between these two players.
I wanna put a poll out into our chat. You know, we've spoken about the three big matchups we've got in the open. It's once again just gonna point them out: Vishy versus Prague, Wesley versus Nihal, and Arjun versus Hans. Which one is chat most excited to see, Sahaj? Is the answer I want. I want to see which is the game that they really feel will have the fireworks and the one that they would want to watch.
I mean, when it comes to fireworks, I think Arjun versus Hans is right up there. And maybe Vishy versus Prague as well, actually. But yeah, would love to know what chat thinks. Chat, do let us know your thoughts.
What a generational clash that one is that you pointed out. Vishy taking on Prague. Well, every game of his is a generational clash here.
And we see a generational clash in front of us as well on the screen. The two players who have a good chance. Of course, Lagno 1.5 point ahead of everybody else. Carissa with the white pieces has maybe her last chance to catch up to Lagno. The question is, can she do it?
And let's remind everyone that this is the last round to put your entries for our big giveaways ahead. There's a Diamond Chess.com membership to be won. There are very cool Tata Steel Chess India merch to be won. T-shirts, caps, coasters, a keychain that you really like. All of that will come the way of one winner. Tweet us with your answer on X, and it's time to go. It's time to go as Vishy starts with the King Spawn opening. Use the hashtag TSCI2026 with your answers of who is your favorite player without telling us who is your favorite player.
And look at that, Prague is now my favorite player. He has just played the Alekhines defense against Vishy.
You had to tell us who's your favorite player without telling us though, so you couldn't have said Prague.
But he has just become my favorite player after this choice. I mean, Alekhines defense. I mean, look at the risks that he's taking. In the first match, he played that delayed King's Gambit, or what, or you know what?
Yes.
I don't remember the exact name of the opening, where he played D3 and then F4, and now he goes Alekhines defense. I mean, he's definitely trying to, complicate the situation early on, and he's trying to play for a win against everyone.
With the black pieces, when you play an opening like the Alekhine, you know that Prague wants a game against Vishy. He is okay playing an objectively not the most solid choice, not the best reply to e4 best by test, but instead just wants an offbeat game. And Vishy, he's ready for it. I mean, he's got so many years of experience. I don't think anything is really a surprise for Vishy Anand.
Of course. I think he is very well versed in these sidelines. As Prague takes the pawn on d6, Vishy goes bishop e2, and he goes bishop g7. Just simply short castle, put the knight on c3, put the bishop on e3, and white enjoys this space advantage with the white pieces.
So Prague and Vishy starts with a surprising alaka, and we'll jump back to it. Let's do a quick opening roundup here, Sahaj. Let's move on to our other tournament leader, Nihal versus Wesley So. And another very interesting opening choice in this one.
Wow, if we can have it, there's e4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, and now he goes d4. Wait a second, oops. Let me just switch that. And this is the position. Knight c3, knight f6. He goes switching. 1 second. Yeah, this is the position. White goes d4, takes, queen takes d4, knight c3, and queen d3. I feel like it's a day for the delayed openings, yeah, because generally you play these d4 variation like e4, e5, d4. It's a gambit that I believe it's called the center counter gambit or something like that. And I think Wesley also taking huge risks in the opening.
There have been some more moves ahead, so let's get up with the action here. The bishop came out, the queen slides over to the g line. Queen is attacking the pawn, and I don't know how safe it is to castle with ideas at bishop h6, but possibly still on the cards.
If I went short castle in this position, white goes bishop h6. This could prove to be a bit risky, yeah?
It's far from over because you can move the knight and defend that g pawn. You know, knight e8 is then knight h5, like you're pointing out.
Knight h5 I think is very good. Knight e8 is a mistake here, like a huge one. So, a bit risky. And look at that Wesley trying to remember his theory as it is Nihal's move still.
Wesley, I think he's just checking out what's happening on the other games. You know, he's half a point behind on the leaderboard, so he is keeping an eye out on the action. Nihal, in fact, does go for the castling option that we were discussing. And let's see if Wesley slides the bishop all the way across to h6.
Yep, now the question is, does he go for bishop to g5 or does he go for bishop to h6? Two active squares for the bishop.
He goes the long way.
Okay,
Checkmate in one threaten.
Now this is a very difficult situation for
So
Nihal.
you were mentioning that knight e8 in fact is a great mistake here.
Yes. You can see from the blue arrow, it's the only move in this position to keep things balanced and not an easy one for sure. If you play knight h5 in this position, you are always afraid of these queen g4, queen takes h5 type of moves. And knight e8 just feels more logical.
It was the first move that I instinctively wanted to make, was knight retreating all the way to e8, get your queen out to f6 and just say that I'm going to drive that bishop away. Knight on h5 just feels soft.
Exactly, it feels just weird. But it is the best move in this position, and afterwards if you go queen g4, there is a nice tactic in this position.
So if Nihal doesn't find knight h5, he's clearly worse, knight e8, and he goes for it. He finds it. Why was knight e8 bad? What was the move that would give Wesley an advantage?
I think it's just a passive position
Just
for
a very
Nihal.
passive
Just you go long castle in this position, knight f3, bishop d3, and okay, you have a very solid
Right.
attack. And now there is a tactic in this position, by the way. If you go queen g4, for example, there's bishop takes f2 check. And if you capture king f2, there's queen f6, and suddenly the bishop and the king are under attack. And perhaps this is why the knight was needed on h5.
And this
Do
is
not allow this.
a very important resource, because I think without it, knight h5 does not make sense. Queen g4 would be very, very strong.
Exactly. And now Wesley, for the first time, takes a long think. And now I think he just has to play something like queen g5 or queen f3, and either ways we are headed towards an endgame.
So queen g4, bishop takes pawn, and Nihal is the one who's going to be pushing for the advantage.
He's basically winning.
It's winning, wow.
Yes.
Okay, so Wesley with a decision to be made here. Saj, as he thinks, I'm expecting him to take a few, well, at least about a minute or two. Let's head back to.
Let's look at maybe Arjun versus Hans. That's a.
Yes, let's check in with Arjun and Hans. Again, Hans is half a point behind the leaders, Arjun a whole point behind the leaders. It's pretty much a must-win game for both these players.
Arjun having double bishop advantage, so he does have that imbalance that he likes. Now he goes bishop e3. Maybe at some point he can sort of solidify the structure with g2, f3, e4 and go short castle. And okay, in the long term, he's gonna have some chances to play for a win here. I like Arjun's chances here. Very difficult for Hans to play for a win.
It does feel like that position that White can be very pleased with. It's almost risk-free. You know, at the right time, you also have the break of f4 to open up more diagonals. You can prepare it endlessly and then strike. So it's an open position, bishop pair, till that's not neutralized. I think slightly better for Arjun out of the opening, as you said.
Yeah, I think Arjun looking very comfortable. Meanwhile, Vishy is expanding his advantage against Prague, and he could potentially be the tournament leader. But actually, no, I spoke a bit too soon because Prague. I'm looking at Prague's time, and there is no way that he has that much time without it being his preparation.
And the queens are off the board, and even just the position. Like you said, clock tells half the story, position tells the other half of the story. The queens are off the board. Black is one move away from completing development right now. The black knight ready to pounce to that central d4 square, which has been weakened. Maybe you can do it immediately. I think Prague's done a good job here out of the opening.
You know, as we came to this game, I think Vishy had committed an error. So queen takes d8 was the error in this position. He had to go something like c5 or queen c1, which are not easy decisions because you are thinking, I have this queenside majority, my pieces are better developed. Let's go into the endgame, and I'll enjoy some slight advantage there. But Prague, I think, knows that this queen takes queen was a mistake because now he's thinking it was his preparation so far, and I think Prague is on the front here for sure.
Prague on the front foot here. Well, at least a very healthy position. Vishy looking around looks pretty cool and calm himself. You know, pretty chill with what he's gotten. I also want to point out that Wesley did in fact find the move that you were talking about, the queen sliding over to f3. So let's just have that on the board. Wesley versus Nihal, super critical for the standings here. He attacks the knight through the right square, not allowing the bishop takes pawn tactic.
But still, I mean, you're going into an endgame. Now, if I played queen f6 here.
So an endgame in Vishy's game, a potential endgame in Wesley versus Nihal. Arjun versus Hans, a simplified position with Arjun pushing a little bit. These are the three big marquee matchups. I want to quickly go over to our women's section before we come back to the open. You know, we spoke about Carissa versus Lagno being our headliner here. What do we make of this one? Wow, there's a pawn on e6 and it's white to play.
I mean, the natural instinct is to take that pawn on f7.
Mine would be to push e7, but immediately spot that once the rook lines up against that e-pawn, there's no third defender there. You end up losing it immediately.
I mean, I was thinking you can take the pawn on f7, and then maybe you can solidify your stance on the e5 square. So maybe like knight e5, d4, c4, something like this. You know, maybe slight pressure for Carissa up here. But yeah, Lagno should be able to hold this. That's my take.
So Lagno, Carissa in the balance. Meanwhile, we've got Vashali versus Divya. Let's check in on that. Vashali with a crushing victory in the previous round against Carissa. For Divya, it's not been a great tournament.
Yes.
It's been a tough one. She's currently at the 8th spot, shared for 6th with Divya and Stavrula, but it's not where she wanted to be going into the penultimate round.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, if you asked me at the beginning, I would say Divya is one of the favorites in this event. So definitely not the best event. And you know, for the first 2 days, she had not won a single game. So,
yes.
But now she has defeated Vantika with the black pieces. She should be in good spirits. However, I don't like this position so much for Divya because it kind of seems very similar to what we had previously with Vashali, in that King's Indian attack game. The only difference is that you don't have the attack on the king side, and Divya right now is a pawn down. This pawn on e7.
I was waiting for you to say that because I think that's the defining feature here. It's a whole extra pawn, and you're not winning that back anytime soon, Sahaj.
Wait, did she blunder this? So I'm not going to go through all of it. This was the position. She played knight-ish. Oh, it was a blunder.
One move miss, and there's something to be said about form when you miss knight takes pawn.
Oh yes, and I mean, if we think that this was a sacrifice, Divya thought for a minute and 21 seconds after this was played. So for sure, this was not a sacrifice. And yeah, this is the defining factor here. Vashali just a pawn up against Divya, but still far from, I think, it being.
But it's a dream start. I mean, with the black pieces, you're gifted a pawn. So Vashali on the push here. Let's move back to our open section, Sahaj. And I want to go to Wesley versus Nihal first because it's really fascinating what's happening here. You know, the queen went to f3 from when we left it last. And black swoops his own queen into h4. Now pawn takes bishop is a threat. So Wesley's forced to retreat his bishop back. And he does it, offering a trade.
Now, very critical moment for Nihal. Now, if this was a blitz game or a bullet game, I would go bishop takes e3 without a single thought here. But actually, that's a huge mistake. Like, if you allow bishop e3 and queen e3, I think white starts to dominate. You can see the bar take a huge jump there. The queen is very comfortable on e3. You get long castle, knight e2, g3, f4, and suddenly
Knight d5 is coming in.
Oh yes, knight d5 as well. Beautiful move there. So yeah, you should definitely not take that bishop on e3. And Nihal, I think, senses that this is a critical moment.
I would be very tempted with either pinning the knight on c3. A move like bishop b4 comes to mind. I hate allowing Wesley castling if you're Nihal right now. To go long castle and finish development like that and then just start pushing the g and the h pawn with tempos against the queen and the knight on the h file. I think bishop b4 is very attractive, as is, I can't decide where, d4 or e5, a knight jump with a threat on the white queen.
I think you're right on the money there. Knight e5 is actually one of the best moves in this position. The idea is that if you go queen e2, then there is knight f4, and you are essentially not forced, but okay, I think you're more or less forced, yeah, because you either go bishop takes f4 and you give up one bishop, but if you go queen d2, chat, luck to play and get an advantage here. And by the way, this is happening on the board as we speak.
Whoa, he just made knight f4 as well.
Chad, you have enough time. He has not played queen d2 yet, but
So queen d2 is a bad move for white here.
Yes, it is. It's a beautiful move. Once you see it, you will say, wow.
Oh, that is beautiful. All right, Chad, we'll let you think. Queen d2 would be a big mistake. This hasn't happened. That's our analysis board. As you can see on the live camera, Wesley's queen is under attack after knight f4. Black to play and find the tactics here. I really like the way Nihal went for this direct approach with the Kolkata Knight Riders. Get the knight to e5, get the knight to f4.
Has chat guessed the move yet? Because it's not an easy one, but Nihal has looked at it. Nihal has found it.
Wesley won't miss this.
Because guess what, Tanya? If I don't see this move, then black is completely worse here. And yes, I see it on the chat. Knight c4 indeed is the move. And this forces you to give up one of the bishops. And look at this symmetry. It's beautiful. Can't take this because knight g2 check would just be deadly.
Wait, I was actually thinking to start with knight takes pawn. So
Knight
I was
g2?
wrong about that.
Knight g2, bishop g2, knight c4.
Knight f3, is that the problem?
I think there's bishop g5.
Aha, I missed this. So, right plan, wrong execution by me, but chat sharper.
Chat has found this, yes, for sure. Pull it, Raja.
That was the correct line, the correct refutation of it.
So the correct line is you first play knight c4, and if white goes bishop takes e5, actually you don't go knight g2, you go bishop takes e3.
Because knight takes pawn, exactly, this is
Yes.
the point. Knight takes pawn, the king moves away, you're down a piece.
Exactly. I also missed that. So if you go queen takes bishop here, knight g2 check, and then the queen on e3
Wow,
just hangs.
Very nice, very nice. Shout out to chat for finding the tactics. Will Wesley find it?
I mean, Nihal has found it for sure, and that's what matters here. And Nihal is definitely in the driver's seat. I think he looks like a favorite to be now.
Huge moment. Queen d2 pretty much looks like it loses on the spot there. So Wesley once again a critical decision with his queen under attack. Saj, let's check in as we wait for his decision. Let's check in with Arjun versus Hans. Not much has happened, so we won't stay there for too long. And these are two players for whom it's almost a must-win given the standings currently. I think it's a slow game. Arjun continues to have the bishop pair advantage. He's planted the pawn on c4. It might even push all the way to c5 to try to get that d6 square eventually for his rook. I still feel that Hans should be fine.
He should be fine, yes. I don't think he is worse here whatsoever. I don't think the position has developed.
Slightly unpleasant because of the bishop pair, but it doesn't feel like it's too much, you know, Saj, because there's no pawn weakness that I can really spot here for black. And Hans has the open D line, he has the open B file, the rooks are nicely placed. The black knight always eyeing that f4 square. The bishop on d3 not active, he takes, he's in fact going into the endgame. Whoa, rook takes queen, the bar will adjust itself. That's not a blunder, it's the only move.
And now knight f4. I think it's Hans who's trying to play for a win here somehow.
And Arjun declines. He says, I'm not going to give up my bishop pair. He comes back with his own bishop. And Hans playing for a lot of activity. The piece activity does neutralize the bishop pair that Arjun has.
Yes.
Rook d2 coming in if you were to trade off that bishop for the knight.
Bishop f4 is just feels like a really, really bad move.
Decision.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a bad decision.
So Hans doing fine against Arjun. Meanwhile, Wesley is still thinking, let's move over to Vishy versus Prague right now. And it felt that Prague was out of the opening without too much to be concerned about. Are we sticking to that evaluation?
Oh yes, because Prague has to take on c4, you take back on c4, black goes, knight takes c4, and I mean, could it be more drawish? This, you have the same knights, same set of pawns, no real imbalance on the board. I think this is a draw, no?
This one's definitely headed towards a draw, and I think it will be very soon. This is a completely balanced position here. And it looks like Vishy's happy to just take it to that last decider against Nihal to see who finishes at the top. I mean, what a moment it is for him, right? It's a bit of battle against the Indian youngsters. Taking on Prague in the penultimate round and then Nihal for the final finish.
Absolutely. And that would be the decider. I mean, depending on how Nihal does, because Nihal is winning, I mean, well, close to being winning in his game. Because let's jump back, because Nihal,
Whoa,
the
huge
advantage
mistake.
has increased by a lot. And look at this position. He went g3 here, black goes queen h6 and f4, and wait a second. Oh, do you see it? Tanya, queen takes h2. I think.
Oh, wow.
No. Queen b6. Queen b6.
Bishop takes knight. Bishop takes knight is the best move that our engine is pointing out.
Yeah, rook g1. I was thinking queen h2, but queen h2 is not working for some reason. I think it's just rook g2 probably.
Rook g2 and pawn takes knight.
Yeah, and there's this queen b6 here.
Attacking the rook and attacking the pawn on b2. That's a huge double attack. Full board awareness. Sahaj, what a find. What a find that was not found by Wesley. Can you just go back for a moment to that point where we left it, Sahaj?
This was the position,
Yes.
knight f4. He went bishop takes f4.
He made the right decision. He took that knight off the board. Queen takes bishop.
And now knight h3 was the best move here. He makes a mistake, goes g3, queen h6, and once again Tanya pushing the golden pawn. Has to be a mistake.
I need to listen to you more.
Exactly. Goes bishop, and Nihal plays it.
It's on the board, and I think this is the moment that Wesley has just spotted that rook takes bishop. Queen takes pawn he had seen. The pawn on h2 Wesley had calculated. Queen takes h2 is a poison pawn. Rook g2, the knight on e5 falls. You can't pick it up. But what Wesley missed was the queen sliding. As you show that line, Sahaj, this would not work. Queen sliding all the way across with a double attack, and he spots it now, and he spots it too late.
But I think after bishop g1, maybe you have pawn takes e5, but
That has to be worse for you. You're never going long castle. You simply retreat the bishop. You could also place it on e3. You could place it on d4, hitting that e5 pawn. Your central pawn structure is destroyed. Strategically, that looks horrible for white.
it looks so ugly. Indeed. So now Wesley has to choose between two bad options. Yeah, Rook G1, allow Queen B6, maybe sacrifice an exchange, or with Pawn takes E5, where it's a strategically, can I say it's a strategically lost position. But after F E5, Bishop D4, you cannot convince me that White is not lost here.
And Nihal knows just how crucial this moment is. It's head in hands, locked in. That's not head in hands out of despair. He knows this is his big opportunity.
And Nihal was a last minute replacement to Mukesh.
Yes. I mean, those are huge shoes to fill, right, for the world champion. And then you come in, and here you are going into the final round as potentially even the sole leader. Because Vishy is about to draw his game against Prague.
Oh yes. And his last round is against Vishy. Insane. Wow. I mean, I think I'm very, very impressed with how Nihal has shown himself.
It was a tough start for Nihal Serene. It was a 50% score at the end of day one, a 3 out of 3 comeback on day 2, and he continues that hot form, a draw in the first one, and now almost a winning advantage out of the opening. And such, I want to point out, the thing is, we still have the evaluation bar telling us something is wrong, which obviously guides us to moves like Queen B6 being spotted. But it's so easy to miss it on the board when you don't have a pat on the back, for Wesley saying that, listen, this is dangerous. Because you're not even thinking about that side. The queen has played majority of the role on the king side. It's been on H4, it's been on H5, it's been on H6.
Exactly.
And now the winning move, or the move that gets a big advantage, is on the other flank, absolutely.
And if you don't find this move, you're actually worse here as black. So, very much possible that Wesley has not looked at this. By the way, just an honorable mention to the second best move in this position. Tanya, you will be shocked. The second best move here is D5.
You literally don't care about the piece.
I mean, good luck explaining this to someone.
I'll explain it, because pawn takes knight, the best move is Queen B6 still. Or
actually, it is.
It
is. GG. But, okay, he goes Rook G1 and Queen B6 on the board. Once you have seen it, I think you go for it.
And the point is that once you defend that rook, Queen takes pawn again comes in with your second double attack. That's a double attack.
Double attack. And now I think Wesley is just down in material. He has to take the pawn on E5 and give up the rook on G1. Or he goes... I mean, I don't even know what he does. And look at that. Hans is looking at this board, trying to calculate whether Wesley is lost, and looks like he is.
Wesley So in huge trouble right out of the opening here. What move number are we on, Sahaj, in this?
It is move number 14, and Nihal is already winning, and look at the time difference. 8 minutes versus 2.5 minutes is crazy.
And the clock isn't Wesley's biggest problem.
Yes.
It's the position itself falling apart. Alright, so Nihal, close to a winning advantage out of the opening with the black pieces. Wesley, he sacrifices an entire exchange. He does. This is going to be a fight for survival now for Wesley. Sahaj, let's check in with Vishy versus Prague. I think that one is going to end any moment, really. Not much has changed, so we won't stay there for too long. This is where it is completely in the balance.
Tablash, very, very soon. I think you just play A4, G3, I mean, so many simple moves. Maybe Prague will try to play, but look, I mean, Vishy always has that 2.5 minute advantage over his opponents throughout this entire event, and yeah, I think this is headed towards a draw.
So this one heading towards a draw in the next, I would say, couple of moves. Let's check in with Arjun versus Hans. We saw one imbalance in that one with the bishop pair for Arjun, but Hans had amazing piece activity the last time we checked in. Looks like it's the same storyline.
Now Hans is trying to play for a win, I think, with the black pieces now at least. His rook is on the 7th rank. He has advanced his kingside pawn, potentially not allowing white to play f4 and break the center. White's rooks are pretty much tied down, defending the pawn on c4, the pawn on c2, and this rook doesn't have any space. Then there are these open files, which both of Hans's rooks are potentially on.
He's got beautiful rooks on the board, and Wesley, right or wrong, has made a beautiful move on the board. We go straight back to that. You know, Nihal captured a rook, and we thought Wesley will automatically take the knight at the center of the board. Just go back, one move, Saj. Queen takes rook, and instead of capturing the knight on e5, Wesley has made the move knight to d5.
So,
He's down a whole rook right now.
so he's just saying, no exchange, I'm just going to give you the full rook. But I'm guessing he wants some activity in exchange for it. Like some perpetual checks, like queen g4, knight f6, I don't know, something like this. 2 minutes for Wesley. Nihal has all the time in the world to think this through.
I would just be very tempted with moving the knight away. You know, you move it back, you retreat it, you get it into defense. Knight g6 allows this f5 coming in with a tempo. So knight c6 stopping knight e7 check ideas. Unless there is a tactical knockout against the queen, I'm saving that knight.
And I have a question for you, and sorry to put you on the spot. I'll play knight c6. Can you guess what the best move here is for white? Like just any move that feels logical to you.
Knight e3.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. It's the move that I was considering as well.
Oh, then it's not.
Not even in top 5.
Oh wow, I wanted to go knight e3 to try to trap the
course.
queen on g1.
As practically like for a human, this is what you look at, right?
Also knight f5, queen g4 in the air. I'm asking
Yeah.
you, how are you fighting against bishop h3?
Or any other move you want to take a guess. And chat, same question for you.
I'm guessing it's not knight takes pawn if you're asking me this question.
No, it's not. Chat, feel free to drop your guesses.
It's going to be some ridiculous move completely.
I cannot believe that this is possible, and I will be shocked if Wesley actually plays it.
It must be e5.
That's 3, not even in top 5.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to stop
Actually,
embarrassing myself.
Knight c7 is actually the third best. But the first move here is king b1.
Yeah, that would not have been in my 10 guesses.
Do you want to know the second?
Said
Do you
knight
want to wait?
Said knight c6 has happened.
Wait. Do you want to know the second best move here?
a3.
It's a3.
No, what? I didn't mean that.
It's a3.
Okay, that is.
Why?
This is where
Why?
you just feel that engines are sometimes just best switched off.
But why? Why would you play a3?
You're down a rook, and you're telling me you're down a whole rook, and you don't care about making anything of the position but make 2 quiet moves on the flank when nothing is happening, Sahaj.
Exactly, back rank, yeah? You want to open up your back rank in case there are some back rank attacking ideas, or I'm guessing if the queen goes to c5, you have some b4 ideas, but okay, this is such a ridiculous move to play a3 on the board. But king b1 also super ridiculous, I have to say.
You know what's the other ridiculous thing? That the bar isn't giving a completely dead loss advantage here.
Yes. And this is why when the bar says a move like king b1, it means you believe in the position.
And of course, Wesley makes, this is a move that I think I did suggest.
Yes,
You
it
said
was.
it's not in the top 5. But I feel this is the human move because you're eyeing ideas like knight f6 check, some tactics you're trying to create, Sahaj. You're thinking bishop g2, now you've opened up the diagonal, maybe the queen will land on e4.
Bishop can go to d3 and put some pressure on the h7 pawn. If you push the g pawn, then knight f6 check is on the cards as well. But this gives Nihal a golden opportunity to break the center with d6 and bring his bishop out. And this is why it was important to keep the bishop, keep the pawn on e4 to not allow more trades in the position. But wow, I still cannot believe king b1 and a3 were the 2 moves in this position. Ridiculous.
I mean, one explanation is that, you're down a rook. It's already dead lost. Just play something.
Anything.
But e5, I have to say, is quite human. We were looking at knight e3. Wesley is looking for a miracle right now. That's what he's looking for.
And Nihal has all the time in the world to think. If he plays d6, I think he is completely winning.
Said, let us check in with quickly over to the Vishy board. I think it might be ending any moment because there is a potential repetition, and just as I say that, it happens. Vishy versus Prague, balanced from start to finish, and the last few moves just saw a rook and a king dance, giving check, retreat, giving check, and with that this ends in a draw as the two continue to analyze. I mean, just the amount of respect that, the younger generation, well, all of India, but for the likes of Prague, the faces of the golden generation of chess, Vishy's God.
Of course, of course. I remember Gukesh saying this, and we were there together, Tanya, in the Global Chess League when we asked him how was it like playing against Vishy, and his words were, it was like playing against God.
And
So
when
inspiring.
you're playing against God, you want all the moments you can get with him to analyze the action. Maybe we stay on that scene a little. Actually, he's right there. We don't need to go back because you can see them there, sitting in the background, still looking at the game there, as we have Hans and Arjun in front of us. So that means, Sahaj, now depending on what happens on the Nihal board, Vishy will be in striking distance no matter what going into that final round with Nihal, and he might have his fate in his own hands. He plays Nihal. Even if Nihal ends up half a point ahead of Vishy going into that final round, if Vishy wins, he takes championship.
And he is a rook and a knight up right now, Nihal. So you couldn't have a better
Wow.
situation. Look at this. He plays queen c5, and Wesley sacks the knight as well. gf6. He's looking for some repetition on the king side.
No, this is going to be resigns very soon and not a repetition because white queen is very far away. The black queen will simply guard the f6 square, either coming from e7. It just feels like there'll be plenty of resources. You can even sacrifice your knight on that e5 pawn. Wesley will give a check first. The king will slide back and he will put pressure on f6. He just simply develops the bishop like nothing has happened. Wesley is down 8 points on the board.
Wow, 8 points. And now he plays bishop d3 to have queen f5. Some ideas in the position. If this was white to play, queen f5 would be very, very deadly. But black gets that extra key move in the position, and he can utilize with just rook g8 and just sack the rook with rook g6, and that's it.
Yes, but that isn't the only move, I'm sure. I would just go knight takes pawn and say I'm up so much material that I can give some back and say you have no attack after that. Knight takes pawn, attacking the bishop and the queen. Pawn takes knight, I pick that up with my queen. I'm threatening queen g5 check. And I'm waiting for you to put your hand forward.
Oh yes, knight e5 I think is even cleaner than rook g8 there.
But rook g8 just is also very professional, and I think
They both work, I think.
Wesley shakes his head. Everything's gone wrong because of that one miss allowing queen b6.
Golden pawn. It's all about the golden pawn.
f4. That move is costing him dearly. And I wonder if it's in moments like these, Sahaj, that you also start thinking about maybe I should have appealed for that point against Pragnananda yesterday. That half a point that would have made all the difference.
Had he won this match, I think maybe, yeah. But now, okay, he's on 4.5. He would be at 5. And that would put him behind Vishy and then behind Nihal as well. So, but yes, of course, he should have appealed regardless.
And, at the end of it, the clock is part of the game, right? So there's no shame in that.
Yes, of course.
It's the 17th piece, it's often called. Or
Yes.
the 33rd one, depending on how you look at it.
It's definitely a piece on the clock, and you have to use it as much as you can.
And Nihal goes for one of the ideas we were discussing. Wesley falls back with the queen, but you just need to look at him. It's almost like he's given up. He's playing out of inertia right now. There's a checkmate in one being threatened. You could block the diagonal, moving that f pawn one step forward.
F5 is good. Even queen g5, queen g7 is very good.
Yes.
Even queen g5 and h6 is very good.
In a winning position, there are no bad moves. He's going
There are some bad moves.
the ones that allow a checkmate in one.
Yes, exactly. No bad moves, just blunders.
And that's it. Nihal Serene will go into the final round of the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid in pole position there as the sole leader. Sahaj, and what a final round we set ourselves up for. It's going to be Vishy versus Nihal for championship.
And I have to say, Nihal playing with the white pieces against Vishy gives him a very solid chance of winning this tournament.
And what a story
Insane.
that is. What a story that is to come into Kolkata as a last minute entry, with Gukesh withdrawing a week before the tournament.
Oh, Nihal is him when it comes to faster formats. I mean, he's been at that level for such a long time, and now he is showing up. Great way to start 2026 for Nihal. He just broke 2700 in classical as well. I think this is great news for Nihal here.
Amazing, amazing stuff by Nihal in this game with the black pieces. Well, he got gifted that tactic. He seized on that opportunity and never gave Wesley a chance. So Vishy's game ends in a draw. Nihal gets the win against Wesley. Let's head over to Hans versus Arjun, because the result of this one, Sahaj, can create quite a chaos going into that last round.
And I looked at Hans kind of looking back at the game of Nihal versus Wesley. And by the way, Rook C2 is not a blunder. It must be a DGT error there. Not really sure what the exact position is, but I believe it started around this point. He played actually Rook D4. Bishop C1 happens. He goes Rook B7. C5 happens. Knight D7. Bishop E3 Rook B2 again. And Rook B1, and he has indeed taken on C2, which our bar tells us is a blunder. But this is Hans trying to play for a win, trying to use Arjun's technique against Arjun. Is you like imbalances? Me too. If you take the rook on C2 here, I can take the pawn on E4, and then suddenly your central pawn is gone. I can push F5, F4, put my bishop on D5, and I have a lot of initiative. Bar likes Arjun's position, but I think it's not as simple. Instead of rook takes C2, if you go bishop takes D4, this is the other capture possible in the game. Black can go rook A2, just not allowing this trade. Now your bishop is under attack. You go bishop E3, and now knight F6, and now your knight on E4 is falling. And remember, chat, that F3 is not possible in this position as the pawn is currently pinned. So either ways, you lose this pawn on E4, and it's going to be a very tough game as he takes.
I have to say, rook takes bishop, the voluntary decision to give up the exchange, it was completely unforced. He could have just kept the balance by simply moving the rook, maybe even trading it off. But this is Hans saying that if I win this, if I'm able to prove this gamble, I join Vishy at 5.5. I'm also playing for that last round win because he's going to be up against Wesley in the final, round 9. So Hans taking his chances, he's taking the risks here. Said, meanwhile, can we just jump over quickly to the women's section? It is Divya Deshmukh who's crushing and crashing through Vashali right now.
Whoa.
There's a queen that's missing on the board. And Vashali has a rook and a knight for a queen, but that monstrous bishop on b2, the h-pawn moving forward, g6 in the air. The black rook's completely disconnected. This has to be busted.
Can we call this a rook even?
Or the other one.
I'll give you 5 moves, activate it. Like it's not possible, yeah? It's not really a rook. So completely blocked by its own pawns there.
She's just going to go h5, h6, that knight on g7 is trapped. Once the diagonal opens up, there's a queen and a bishop that's able to land that. That's over, h5, g6 would be game over. Vashali, no time on the clock, completely lost on the board. Carissa versus Katrina. Lagno, meanwhile, is going to end in a draw, which means Lagno might very well win the tournament 1 round to spare.
Wow, and how is Nana doing? Because she was the only player at 4 points. She's playing against Vantika Agarwal.
Nana versus Vantika is in the balance right
winning.
now. That's an opposite color bishop, most likely heading into a draw as well. So Lagno looking good to steal the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid with a game to spare in that one. Sej, let's head back to our open section. It's all eyes on Hans Niemann's exchange sacrifice to create some chances.
And look at this, Arjun playing best moves in the game, goes rook e1, defends the bishop on e3 and puts pressure on the c6 pawn. And right about this moment, I think Hans is regretting sacrificing that exchange.
And that's the feeling I got. You know, when you take a decision like that, you need to be so precise. You need to have enough time on the clock. 1 or 2 inaccuracies and the compensation's gone out of your hand.
Yes.
It was very unnecessary, Sahaj, for him to take that risk.
And I mean, if he wants to win the tournament, then I mean, he has to do something, right? I mean, in hindsight, of course, I agree with you. It has not paid off, but it's a tough call. I think he was just trying to play for a win and it has not paid off well for him. I think Arjun takes this one.
The risk-reward ratio here. not going according to what Hans wanted, and Arjun's kind of played it really well after winning the exchange. He's placed the rook on the d line, he's mounted it on d6. And that's what happens, you know, when you're playing with a minute on the clock, you've got material deficit as well. You make inaccuracies, and we've got a result here. It is a draw for Rakshita versus Harika there.
And coming back to this board, he goes bishop f6, activating and dominating on those light squares, perhaps even gaining some time in the process as he brings his bishop back. And Hans has no other choice but to play knight e7 as well and say, okay, I'm no longer playing for a win, I know that. Let's repeat moves. Look at that reaction by Hans there.
Yes.
He's not
And
happy.
the thing is, Arjun will not take that repetition. There's just no way he's going to do it. He's up in exchange. Arjun doesn't even take a repetition in equal positions, let alone this one. Just a quick update. Arvind, Volodar Murzin. I think Murzin's looking at his second win right now, and that game, it almost looks like he's about to checkmate. These two players currently at the bottom of the leaderboard, 9th and 10th place, so not an important one for our standings. But if we just have the board up, Sahaj, and there you see White's king on h3. He's down in exchange with those two central pawns and the beautiful queen on g1, and not just that, the knight landing into f3 eventually. It just looks like game over very soon. Black's king ultra safe.
I mean, it's so interesting to think about. I mean, in the first 2 days, Murzin was winless. His day 2 was all 3 losses.
Whoa.
And now he's defeated Wei Yi and Arvind.
Alright, and Vidit and Vachier are in the balance. We won't go to that side. Let's go back to Arjun versus Hans right now. As there's a big threat on the board that's being set up. Rook c2 check. And Arjun playing with seconds on the clock.
Gives a check and then gives a check on g8 as well, as we can see on the board. Black is forced to potentially bring his king to g6 and maybe to f5, and there is something tactically wrong with that. So rook g8 check, I'm assuming. You cannot bring the king back because rook g7, and there's a bunch of discovered check ideas. So you put the king on f5, and is e4 winning there?
That would require another pawn sacrifice, but you trade the rooks. So you're making a good argument for that, because once the rooks are off the board, the white rook can slide all the way across to a8 and pick up the a5 pawn with a very cool passer at the end of that line.
I think that would also be winning, Tanya, but I think there's something else in that
And
position.
to avoid that, Hans played king h5.
Wow, and is there g4 and bishop p5 and bishop g3 checkmate?
Ooh, that looks like a complete knockout. I am trying to find a way to hide against it. It's almost a first line.
You have rook c2, perhaps.
But yes, that would have given the black king entry points.
That's why he plays rook e2, and now he takes the pawn on e3, and rook takes e3 is just winning for him now.
Rook takes knight, rook c2 check is what is Hans's idea. But the black king is in a mating net. It is in a box right now, Sahaj. You can start targeting it. I think g4 check will happen, and the h6 pawn coming under fire with rook h8.
Not just the pawn, I think it's the king. You're about to get checkmated.
It's being played out right now. Hans Niemann is about to lose the game, forced to give up more material. He's down a whole rook for just 3 pawns.
Crazy. And now just rook c8, rook c6, not even 4 pawns there. It's some counterplay for Hans, but it is a little too late. I think Arjun is definitely going to take this one. Maybe some f5, f4 ideas though.
And in the background, we could see Murzin getting his second win in a row. Well, Hans, he's going to keep playing this one. Like you said, the 3 pawns, it's just they're too far back. You know, they were a little ahead, a little more aggressive. One could have made a case for it, but Arjun just coolly is going to collect a pawn. It'll be a c5 pawn. That'll be the most dangerous one.
Oh, yes. By the way, this rook c8 move was not the best. Yeah, but now Hans has to go rook c2 to not allow Arjun to play rook c3. And then push the f5 pawn.
Okay, but rook c2, rook takes pawn, and you're just feeling he does defend, he does put pressure on c5. c6 will be captured. This has to be completely winning for Arjun. He goes h5.
Yeah, f5, f4, h4, and suddenly looks scary.
I absolutely can't believe you're saying that.
Really?
But that's what even Hans is relying on. What if he just blocks it with rook f6? I go rook f6,
So
no more
f6,
f5.
Rook f6 I missed.
But then you win c5.
Give a check. I go rook f1 or king f2 also is just winning. Yeah, no, you're right.
He
you're
goes
right.
on g2, h4, you just pick up f7, but f7 there's h3.
Then rook takes h3.
Oh yes.
Because I bring
Yes,
my
yes,
rook
yes.
back. Yeah,
Hans
this
knows
is.
it. Hans knows it.
You can even just play rook e4 check.
Hans knows that this is gone. Gives a check, the king comes back. Arjun's managed to increase the time on the clock.
Play c6, beautiful. Gives a check. King f1, king f3, king g. Anything is winning here. I think the critical move was he had to play f5. This rook f6 idea is very, very deadly here.
And we have a result here, but let's go back there. Divya Deshmukh gets a win.
And now he plays h3. Trying to find something in the game. Takes the pawn. Rook h7 check incoming, and he says, I'm not going to take this pawn anymore.
And huge news, Sahaj. We already have a winner in the Tata Steel Chess India Women Rapid, and a winner here as well, as Arjun Eragaisi gets the dub against Hans Niemann in the women. Katrina Lagno has a 1.5 point insurmountable lead going into that final round, and she will take the Tata Steel Chess India Women Rapid 2026 with a dominating performance.
Beautiful. 6 out of 8, I believe.
6 out of 8.
And everyone else on 4.5. I mean, such a dominating performance by Lagno there. Wow. Completely unbeaten. And in the last round, she plays against Divya.
Divya, with that win against Vashali, has climbed to 4 points. So looking for a respectable finish there. And if she takes down Lagno, she might even be on the podium in Rapid. And there is something to be said about taking down the eventual tournament winner.
Oh yes, for sure. I mean, this is one of those moments, because she is already on 2 out of 2 on day 3. She is feeling the momentum there. One last game is remaining between Stavrula and Goryachkina. Let's head over there. This is the current position. Opposite colored bishops. But this is just a dead draw.
This one will end in a draw as well. And I keep... just fantastic play by Katrina, start to finish in the women. Just, she remains undefeated. The only player, including the Open, including the women, to not have a single loss here in Kolkata so far.
Wow. That is saying something, for sure. Wow.
The final game remaining is Goryachkina against Stavrula. For Hans Niemann, his loss in this last round against Arjun, Saj, I have to say, feels very self-inflicted. It comes to that moment, he is going to be white against Wesley in the next round. Had there been a draw there would still be a chance for a good finish there. To go for this absolutely brash idea for no reason whatsoever, no sort of, there wasn't much to be said about the compensation in that position.
Yes, but I think he wanted to create an imbalance, and he wanted to create some chances, because he saw we saw how closely he was watching the match of Nihal versus Wesley, and he saw that, okay, Nihal is completely running away with it, and if I want to have any chances in this tournament, then I have to beat Arjun, and for that I have to create some imbalances. And of course, in hindsight, it was not the
It's
smartest.
not even in hindsight, that's the point, because just that imbalance itself it almost felt like an imbalance where the best case scenario is you draw the game. If you play accurately, you will end up with a position where you're able to hold with your activity. And I think a rash decision there, and in this one it ends in a draw as you had predicted. Hans Niemann will go into the last round, but will not have, and we're going to bring up our standings to really make a case for that. But he's at 4.5 right now, so definitely needs to win for any shot at the podium. But what a finish we've set ourselves up for. Saj, take a look at that. Take a look at our leaderboard.
Do you know what this means, Tanya? We're not getting a tiebreak, because Nihal is playing Vishy. So one person is going to be on 6.5, and then Lagno has already won. So there's no tiebreak.
It's going to be a clear winner.
Clear winner in the rapid section, confirmed, pretty much.
Wow. Okay,
And
let's break this down for
and
everyone.
for Arjun, this is sad. Yeah, even though he takes the biggest risk, he still cannot win the match because the top two players are just playing against each other.
And Arjun started the Tata Steel Chess India with 2 back-to-back losses against Vidit in round 1 and Pragnanda in round 2.
Yes.
And here he is, currently at sole third position. That he's playing Volodar Murzin. You know, a player who's
Wait.
got that X on his back. X marks the spot. Arjun's going to go all out for that win against Murzin, but it might just be not enough for Arjun to try for that first prize.
I think I couldn't agree with you more, but Murzin has been really dangerous in day 3. He has defeated both Wei and Arvind back to back, so he's also feeling it. But yeah, I mean, from Arjun's perspective, even if he goes all out, guns blazing, I don't think he's going to. There's no chance that he can win this tournament. So it's gonna be either Vishy or Nihal.
And they play against each other. Both their fates in their own hands. It comes down to this big final clash. Who will be the winner of the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid? And they started day 2 as the leaders, and they're going to end the tournament as they fight for championship between each other.
Absolutely. And Nihal versus Vishy, it couldn't have been set up in a better way. The lightning kid and well, the speed demon. Can we call him that? But yeah, I think both of these players having a great fight to the end. And let's see what happens.
What a finish we've set ourselves up for. And in the women, one more time, let's give it up for Katrina Lagno's fantastic performance there. 1 round to spare, 1.5 points ahead of the rest of the field. It's a race for the second going into this final round. Lagno, the queen of rapid here.
Absolutely. Unbeaten, completely dominating. And I think she's definitely a force here in the blitz as well. So let's see how she does. But so far, I think she has performed splendidly. I think what I like about this is we know who the winner is for the women, but there's a 50-50 chance, maybe a slight preference to Nihal because, okay, he's half a point ahead and he's playing with the white pieces as well against Vishy. But still, there are 3 players that are coming to mind who are going to be the eventual winners. Let's see what happens there.
Amazing. I'm just thinking about the open section. Now that we've got a winner in the women, we have to talk about all the action that we've witnessed and what we've set ourselves up for. I want to run a poll on chat as well. We've got a final round coming up. It's Nihal versus Vishy. Whoever wins takes rapid. I wonder who chat thinks gets this done. Saj, let's have our pairings up for the final round. Let's have our pairings up, and there we see in front of us, bottom right, Nihal starts with the white pieces. He's half a point ahead. A draw for him is enough as well.
Oh yes. And I don't think Nihal is going to do anything funky here. We might just see a very quick draw here with the white piece. It's very hard to play for a win with the black pieces. You have to come up with some creative stuff like the Alekhine or modern or any of those. But Vishy is very principled in that sense. Vishy will not take a risk in the opening itself. So yeah, I think for me Nihal looks pretty promising. He looks like he's going to be the winner. And in fact, going into day 3, he was my pick.
You did well there. I mean, this has been an incredible storyline for both these players. It's only between Vishy and Nihal, and we'll continue to set the stage. And in just about 20 minutes from now, chat, you have 20 minutes before the first moves, before the handshakes of this final round on which everything depends on here in Kolkata happens. So go get your refreshments and come right back. Saj and I will be back in just a few.
Now it is 10 seconds.
9, 8,
Oof.
7, 6. Make a
No.
move, Prague. You gotta move. You got. What did he do?
What?
What did he do? Oh my goodness. He doesn't make a move in time. There was absolute confusion there by Prague.
Wow, he stopped the clock because he didn't have enough time to
He
promote.
has 1 second left right now. He hasn't been flagged, but you're not allowed to stop the clock like this, Sahaj.
Exactly.
The arbiter is going to give.
And Wesley, we wanted to ask you about what happened today versus Prague. Like, can you share with us like what really happened in the final moments?
Yeah, they asked me in the press conference also, but basically the game was very unclear and I had no idea what was happening. I had 39 seconds and Prague was panicking and he wanted to promote the pawn, the one queen, but he couldn't find the queen. And he thought he had 2 seconds, and if he kept looking for the queen, then he would have lost on time. I think he had 1 second or half a second. So he just, like in panic, he just paused the clock. Man. I think Magnus did that twice in World Blitz, and he lost the game. So I thought I would win, but the arbiter was only giving me a minute or two. I guess I could complain and probably get the win, but I don't want to win. I want to win the game, the position. I don't want to win due to technicalities. So I just offered the door. Like I had time to think. I had time to think what was happening, and I figured that I could be risking as well. Probably. I mean, the best I could hope for the position was a draw, so I just offered the draw. But yeah, basically, some players like to complain a lot. Like there are players who you just misadjust a piece without saying adjust, or they're gonna complain to death. But I don't want to win that way. I want to win on the game. In the World Blitz also, there have been a couple of players this year and also a couple last year who, in time scramble, they would make a move, press the clock, but their piece would fall, and I just let it go. Some players would never let it go, but if it's unintentional, obviously I don't feel right to, and I didn't feel like I deserved to win against Prague. Like I was better early on, but then it turned around very quickly, and in a time scramble, anything could happen. Actually, I could also very quickly get checkmated because when he played Queen F5, I was gonna play King H2, but then he had Bishop G1, which is made. But tomorrow will be tomorrow. There's still a lot to play for, and Prague is Prague, Arjun, Gukesh, Nihal. They're great kids. Never see even a little bit of arrogance in them. So yeah, they're great kids.
Welcome to day 3. This is the last and final day of the rapid section here at Tata Steel Chess India 2026. We will have a winner. The leaders currently are Vishy Anand and Nihal in the open section. Katrina Lano leads the women's section, but it's everything to play for, especially in round 9 when Nihal takes on Vishy So with the white pieces. Remember, Vishy Anand has not won the rapid section yet so far, but he has won the blitz. Nihal won the rapid in 2022. Everything to play for. We will crown a winner in the open as well as the women's section and in our giveaway as well. So do take part in the giveaway if you haven't yet. It's the last day. Hashtag TSCI 2026. Tweet us with your favorite answers. Tanya Sajdev and Sahaj Grover will tell you more about it. Back to you guys in the studio. I'm excited for the last day here. Congratulations, Katrina Lano, who's already won the women's section in the rapid with 1 round to spare. Your thoughts?
Well, of course, I'm very happy.
And how does it feel? This is the first time you're winning in the rapid section.
Yeah, last time I won in the blitz section, but of course, it's been a while that I didn't play well in rapid, so of course today I'm happy and satisfied with my play.
And Katrina, you're 4-time world blitz champion and also the defending champion. Are you excited for the blitz tomorrow?
I'm always excited to play blitz because I love playing blitz, and I think it's my favorite time control. So of course, I will try to play as good as I can.
And lastly, are you enjoying Kolkata and India playing here?
Yes, last year I was invited for the first time, so this year I accepted an invitation again. So as you can see, I'm pretty much happy with my play here and with my results. So I hope to be invited next year again.
And also you played in Global Chess League in India, then Doha, and now what is next for you?
Next, this is a time to break because I wasn't at home for a month because it's my third tournament in a row. So I will enjoy my time with my family, with my children. They miss me a lot and I miss them, so it's time just to be at home.
Yeah. Congrats on the rapid and good luck in the blitz, Katrina Lano, our winner. Back to you guys in studio.
A huge congratulations to the winner of the Tata Steel Chess India Women Rapid, Katrina Lagner. She does it, and she does it in style.
Completely unbeaten throughout, and 1.5 point lead. It cannot be more impressive than that.
1 round to spare. She can just sit back and enjoy and already start thinking about the blitz. And Sahaj, as she said in that interview, that rapid is not her forte. So she's looking for a double crown in Kolkata.
It's nice that you win the tournament by 1.5 points,
Yes.
round to spare, and it's not your forte.
It's a whole different level of flex.
Unbelievable for Lagno there. Huge congratulations. But for the open section, Danya, it is going to be Nihal versus Vishy, and there's going to be just one winner between these two players. Is it going to be the Lightning Kid, or is it going to be, well, I don't want to call it
Also the Lightning Kid,
Yeah.
in some ways.
Lightning Kid 2.0?
Yeah, it really is the clash between these two, greats. Vishy given the moniker back in the 80s of the Lightning Kid for his fast, natural play, just quick, flamboyant, spotting all the tactics, and that's exactly what Nihal does.
Oh yes, and he might do it again, but he is in a way, between these two players, I think Nihal is much more comfortable, Tanya, because he's playing with the white pieces. He's half a point ahead of Vishy. He doesn't have to take any unnecessary risk. Try to keep it solid. Vishy is going to be principled as well, and a draw is very, very good for Nihal.
It's very good. He basically wins the championship. I mean, what more can you want? By the way, Vishy is at 5.5, Arjun is at 5, and we also have a poll running on Chess24 right now. Who will win the rapid event? So tell us, chat, what you think. Does Nihal take it? Does Vishy take it? The third one, I'm not even sure why that's an option. Is there any scenario where we might have a third winner? I don't think that's possible.
No.
It has to be Vishy or Nihal.
Yes, because one of them is going to be on 6.5 points. If Nihal draws, he's on 6.5. Nihal wins, of course, he's going to be the champion at 7. If Vishy wins, he's going to be on 6.5. So Arjun sadly has no chance of, winning this tournament, despite having a great run on day 2 and day 3. He has had one of the best comebacks,
Truly.
but it's not going to be enough.
Back-to-back losses to start the tournament, and Arjun Argaisi shows why he has such a champion's mindset that he does, up there, looking for that strong podium finish before the blitz starts. That's 2 days coming up of fast and furious chess, but that's a topic for later. Right now, it's going to be all eyes on Vishy versus Nihal. Saj, Nihal needs only a draw to claim the title. He also starts with the white pieces. Do you think Vishy is going to be overly ambitious with black, or do you think that we are in the danger zone of, potentially a quick draw? Vishy saying, I'm happy with the podium finish, with black not being able to find chances?
I think Vishy is going to be principled regardless. So I think with black, he's after e4, I would expect something like e5, trying to keep things, traditional, principled, try to keep it solid. If Nihal gives him a chance, of course, he's going to take it. But I don't think he plays something like Alekhine or Modern. He doesn't go out of his way to play for a win. So a quick draw might not be completely unbelievable for me.
I agree with the first part of what you said. I think Vishy will keep it solid, will not over-risk himself, because there is the risk of even losing out that second place. With the black pieces, there's only so much you can do to direct the nature of the game. So if Nihal does bring the fight to him, I believe Vishy will take it. But if not, there will be a safety first approach by Vishy, is my prediction.
I think, yeah, I would agree with you there. Also, Vishy losing that match to Arjun is really hurting him at this point, because he would have been half a point ahead of Nihal, and that would have completely changed, the situation going into the final round of the rapid section of this event. So yeah, I think draw or no draw, that's the question.
I really want to see Vishy fight it out. I want to see him, and we've been talking about how excited we are to see the legend back in action here in Kolkata, and what a run he's had so far. The last time he played here was in 2019 when Tata Steel Chess India was part of the Grand Chess Tour. In 2018, he won the blitz, taking down Hikaru Nakamura in the tie breaks there. He returns as a player after 6 years in this field with most players less than half his age. With, I want to say, all players born after he became world champion. Well, that
Wesley?
fact I'll have to double check. Yeah, that's
Wesley?
exactly the name that came to my mind, and I'm just wondering what the stat on is that. We've got Rakesh sitting right across from us, so maybe he'll correct me if I'm wrong on that. I am wrong on that. Okay. Turns out I am wrong on that. But all right, majority players not even born before he became world champion.
90% basically of the players.
So, 80.
Because Vishy himself,
Because I'm
yes.
counting Vishy in the mix himself.
Yes.
All right, we are going off track here, chat. 4 minutes to go in for that final round. 4 minutes to go. Tell us what you think. Will it be Vishy? Will it be Nihal? Vishy in a must-win to be winner. Nihal needs only a draw. That's the storyline.
Absolutely, and I think I think Nihal has a very good chance. I think something has to go terribly wrong for Nihal. Doesn't have to take any huge risks. I think he's just going to keep things solid. We might see an Italian or a Spanish, very, very, solid approach by Nihal there. We might see a 4-night Scotch as well. That's the opening you play generally when you want to play solid with the white pieces. So let's see what happens.
Can't wait, Sahaj. Cannot wait. And we will have the players in a few seconds. Want to point out a cool stat that Rakesh has just sent. He's saying that Vishy, the World Championship bid I got wrong, but Vishy was a Grandmaster before any other player was born, including the women's section here at Tata Steel Chess India.
Wow.
That's
crazy.
That is how generational this tournament is.
That's how I think impressive his performance is, going into the last round as well. I mean, insane. And yeah, I think
I'm just letting all of this sink in. Just this moment that we've set ourselves up for and how epic it is, the final round, and the fact that the clash belongs to these two performers. Vishy, consistent on every single day, really, if you think about it. Day 1, day 2, day 3, solid and always at the top. He never lost his standing on the leaderboard. Nihal, 1.5 out of 3 on day 1. A fantastic 3 out of 3 on day 2. And here he is, half a point ahead going into that final round. Sahaj, he's been an absolute beast so far, counting day 2 and day 3. And it's Goryachkina who arrives, Arjun, and there he is, the legend himself, Vishy Anand, on our screen. His fate in his hands as he plays with the black pieces against the leader.
absolutely. And speaking of Hans, where is Hans? Do not see him yet, but yes, there he is, Vishy, adjusting his pieces, getting ready for the final match against Nihal. This will decide who wins the tournament overall.
And we've got Vidit there at the background. It's been an up and down tournament for him. Currently in 7th place is Vidit Gujarati. Had a good day 1, but then lost steam on day 2. And you want a respectable finish at the end of it, even if it's not on the podium, setting yourself up with a good mind frame going into the blitz.
Oh yes. But you have to feel for Vishy in that sense, no? Because he was so winning against Arjun, and what a story it would have been for him. But you know, the same can be said for Nihal as well. You know, because he also had a very good position against Arjun. And very interesting stat is that both number 1 and number 2 players, so Nihal and
There it is, guys. Nihal arrives on the board. Nihal versus Vishy. Sorry, Sahaj, but what a moment this is for this final round.
absolutely. And you know, the stat that I was talking about is that both Nihal and Vishy have lost to Arjun.
Yes.
Both in very good positions, and Vishy was completely winning. So that's the decider there. We have Nihal on the board adjusting his pieces. Do we see a London? Finally.
London and Kolkata.
Yes, we have to see a London from Nihal. I mean, he's one of the leading experts of this opening and is super solid.
And he needs only a draw.
Exactly.
Well, once again, in the women's section, it is Katrina Lagno who's won the tournament 1 round to spare. But there is a fight. The field is wide open for second and third of finish at the podium. And in the mix is Divya Deshmukh with 4 points. But it's all eyes on this clash. It's handshakes. It's go time. Nihal Sareen taking a first few seconds to decide what will be his opening approach in this first round. There's no London incoming.
Oh, he plays e4 and of course Vishy goes e5, the most principled approach. Are we going to see 4-knight scotch here? Then we know Nihal's intentions. Yep, there it is. Called it. And now I think he's going to go knight f6 and next move you play d4, and this is I think one of the nicest ways to go for equality with the white pieces. Does he go d4 or not? That would be 4-knight scotch here. There is a line here that is kind of interesting where if after d4 takes you go knight takes e4. It is possible here, Tanya, and maybe Nihal is trying to recollect his sort of thoughts from this opening, because this is the only variation where things can be a little bit tricky. Apart from that, he is good. He plays d4, 4-knight scotch incoming.
Question, will Vishy go for that knight takes pawn or the very solid bishop to b4, pinning the knight on c3? He reaches for it. It's just, Sahaj, it feels like it's going into that territory we were discussing earlier on before the start of the round. A very level position. At one point, black strikes in the center with d5 to try to completely liquidate the center. Very standard theory this one is.
Oh yes, and the idea is very simple. You go short castle, you put the bishop on d2, put the queen on f3. Super simple, very solid. Best opening you can choose to play for a draw with the white pieces.
Approach by Vishy to not immediately capture on d5, made popular by Fabiano Caruana after the trade. That pawn isn't really going anywhere. So first Nihal gets his own king to safety. Taking pawn takes pawn would invite checks on the e line. And there's really nothing that white gains out of that. So a one move delay in recapturing the pawn. Eventually Vishy's bishop will land on g4 as well. The rook on b8. The dark squared bishop often returns to d6. The pawn is placed on c6. And you say, what have you got as white here?
Exactly. I mean, and Nihal's going to say nothing because all I need is a draw. And he plays h3, the most principled move here. Queen f3 is the idea, and not allowing Vishy to play bishop g4 as pointed out by you, Tanya. He goes c6. Queen f3 is a logical follow-up here. And now bishop g5 is his threat, trying to go into the endgame. Wondering if...
So, Saj, if this game does end in a draw, Nihal takes first place with 6.5. Vishy will be at second at 6. But if Arjun wins his game, he joins Vishy at 6 points. So they will share second.
Right. So that's still important for the second and third spot, the leaderboard, in that sense, as he goes bishop d6 and now bishop g5, rook e1, so many nice moves. Even bishop f4 is very, very nice to try and equalize matters. He plays bishop f4. No London, but the bishop is on f4.
Still very much in theoretical battle, this one is. And now Vishy can simply ignore that move, say I'll trade on my terms where my queen will come out to a nice spot, can bring his rook to the open line, b8 or e8.
I think rook b8 kind of makes a lot of sense to put pressure on b2, but white's idea is to play b3, move the knight somewhere and try to push c4, and you try to have more trades on the board. Right now Vishy is thinking. We don't have a quick draw. I think Vishy's still trying to figure out if there is anything in this game. He takes the bishop on... Wow, he takes the bishop on f4. Did not expect that. Queen takes f4. I think Nihal would be very, very comfortable with Vishy's last move because now he doesn't have much to worry about. The queen controls all the key dark squares, also not allowing black to play rook b8 as well. Vishy goes bishop e6, and now I think something like b3 or b4 can be very, very nice here, and Nihal will have that slight pressure.
Alright, so this one in the balance as expected. No chaos, no crazy openings, offbeat ideas. A very well-studied approach, this one by both players. Principled chess so far. Said, meanwhile, we were talking about the other player who can fight for the joint second, Arjun, right? He's playing with the black pieces against Murzin, who's been struggling in the tournament. So Arjun definitely is going for the win, even though he's black here. And while this one has all the fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he needs to do. By the way, Murzin has had a spectacular day 3 so far. He's 2 out of 2. And right now, he's on a roll. Arjun has to be careful here as he goes bishop to d3, eyeing this knight e4 idea.
And Arjun, he places his bishop on the longest diagonal, taking control of the e4 square, looking for a c5 break at the right time. In a 3 versus 4, you want to strike in the center.
Absolutely. So b5 is the point of target, and now for Arjun, he has to play the move c5. If he doesn't play c5 down here, he's worse by a lot. So because I think he will just lose the pawn on b5. c5 keeps things interesting. We could actually be looking at a draw here as well.
It's too soon to call it that, I almost feel, because there's still imbalances, and especially with that last move now that has happened, b4, trying to just disconnect the white pawns on the queen side. And Arjun just wants a game. He's saying, I would rather be objectively worse, but subjectively have chances.
Exactly. So, I mean, when I said this might be a quick draw, I forgot that it is Arjun who's playing with the black pieces, because he always goes for the imbalances, accepts worse positions, and then tries to out-calculate his opponents. And I'm seeing from the chat as well that there is a good chance that Arjun might get his 4th bronze in this event.
Oh, wow.
There's GCL, World Rapid, World Blitz, and now this as well.
Oh my goodness. That's a great stat by chat. It might very well be. It might very well be. But for that, Arjun would need a win, because there is a pack of wolves literally chasing him just half a point behind. For that 4th bronze of Arjun back to back, he's on 5 points. Prague, Wesley, Hans all on 4.5, which means we have to go to Hans versus Wesley. And let's check out what's happening in that matchup.
Okay, so there's no imbalances on the board, but Hans has maybe a slightly better position because of extra space in the center. And Hans, I think he's not looking very happy because of his last round, because he took that risk against Arjun and it did not pay off well, and now he's no longer in the contention.
Usually, having played these positions with the black pieces, I do like it when the pawn moves over to a4 and you have all these ideas of restricting the queen side. Plus, there is tension at the center of the board. I don't think Wesley's too unhappy right now with what he's gotten, and he's striking on the other side as well. f5, that is combative play right now.
Oh yes, f5. Now if you can just capture everything and the position will liquidate, and we might go into an endgame very, very quickly. Could see another draw here.
All right, well, Sahaj, we were looking at the Vishy board. Huge moment there. I want to jump back to that, because all caution has been thrown out of the window in that one. And let's back up a little bit and then deep dive into this. This last move threatens the white bishop, but we left it here and we felt, You know, this is going towards very equalish territory.
He goes knight a4, b3 or b4 was much better here. Queen a5 happens, b3. Now c5, best move by Vishy, and this was a slight inaccuracy by Nihal, and Vishy takes advantage of that and goes c4, and now Nihal is in trouble.
Okay, this is a huge moment, you know. The fight is for that c5 square, which was again occupied by Vishy and his pawn. Nihal had to find a way to control those pawns from moving ahead. And now suddenly the position's blown up. And I think Vishy senses a little bit of his chances. The point is that whenever there are some trades that will happen, open lines on the queen side will appear, giving Vishy's rooks the opportunity to target some of those pawns. Nihal now trying to trade as many pieces as possible.
A nice move here is to just take on f5 and go rook f8.
He starts with rook f8.
Okay, now can we capture this bishop on e6?
I think Vishy's saying, I'm okay with trade, but as long as it's trades on my terms. He wants to recapture, bringing the pawn towards the center, also defending the d5 pawn.
Maybe e5 also in the long run.
I like the way Vishy's handling this.
Vishy, I think, I mean, for sure, this is the kind of position you would want if you want to play for a win with the black pieces. Nihal basically has very little chance to play for a win, but can he hold off Vishy here? That's the question. Or do we go just bishop g4? He takes the bishop on e6.
I'm expecting Vishy to capture with the pawn. Oh, he reaches with the rook.
Very principled again.
He reaches with the rook, so he wants to keep the rook active. I just felt that pawn takes bishop was a more imbalanced approach there.
Yes. I agree with you there, but I think Vishy is trying to keep things very solid. And after Nihal's last move, queen d2, I think he's back in the game.
If you want to keep things solid and you're happy with the way things have gone, which Vishy has plenty of reasons to be, do you trade the queens? Yes, you do.
Yeah, rook takes d2 and...
Do you think there's going to be a draw offer soon, Sahaj?
Must be a draw
Is
offer.
that in the cards?
I think both players are okay with it.
Yeah, so far it looks like Nihal, looking for that draw, has done everything right. Vishy lines up the rook on the c line.
Did Vishy just offer a draw, or
So
Nihal is still gonna play, huh?
I didn't
maybe
really see
there was
that.
no
I
draw.
didn't spot that.
Probably not, because Nihal is still thinking. I think he would have accepted the
Yes,
draw.
instantly, because he's champion, right? You offer a draw, you just take it.
Maybe Vishy still sees some venom in the position. You could technically go for some g5, h5 business and attack on the king side.
Love how everything is off the board and you're like, let's attack on the king side.
He's just putting pressure. I mean, you have to do something.
Yes. No,
G5.
just finding ways to continue the game. I think it's very impressive.
It's very, very nice to say these things when it's not your game, yeah? And you are definitely a lot more ambitious.
And we've got the eval bar there, so you can see that Pragnananda is on the advantage against Veyi, as well as Murzin is against Arjun. Saj, maybe a quick jump over to that board. Arjun currently in third place right now.
Look at the time difference though. Murzin having literally half the time of Arjun. And there are a lot of imbalances in this position. You could potentially take this pawn on b4 at some stage. Black should never take bc3 here, I feel, because then the b file would get open and the b7 bishop would be a target.
And a quick update for everyone watching, there is no 30 move rule here. So actually the players can offer a draw at any moment, which means that for Nihal, it is on the cards. If he feels he's equalized, he can make that draw offer.
So let's actually check out what the updates are, because I think we might see a draw offer between these two players, Nihal and Vishy. We might see a draw here very, very soon, because there's not much left in this game.
Small waiting move there. The thing is, I think if Vishy offers a draw, Nihal immediately takes it.
Yes.
To me, it's going to be very interesting to see what would be the reaction if Nihal was to make that that decision. But I don't believe Nihal will do it until the position is completely neutralized.
This looks pretty comfortable to hold off. Black can never play knight e4, for example.
Especially now.
Yes, with f3, and I think he's gearing up for this king f2 idea.
I like your move g5 especially because after g5, you're also eyeing at some point, maybe if the knight gets lucky, it lands on f4, you control the dark squares. But Nihal, look at the way he's tied down the pieces to defend that d5 pawn, doubling up on the line.
Absolutely. And by the way, we do have a poll coming. Who is going to win between Vishy and Nihal? I have voted myself. Let's see.
I can see your vote, but I won't give it away. I just sneak peeked into the votes that was given by Sahaj.
Would you agree with my vote or? Yes or no?
Yes.
You agree with me?
I agree with your vote because of the position that we have in front of us. I think it makes a lot of sense. Also, the odds that are there right now. I think I'm giving away too much with what your vote was. Okay, so Vishy does go on the clamp down there. Maybe your idea h5, g4 really in the cards there, Sahaj.
Maybe just knight h5, knight f4. That also looks
That's
promising.
the thing, right? The d5 pawn
Rook e2 also is a
under
threat.
lock and key.
There's no way that you can play on for long here because the rooks are going to get traded.
And meanwhile, Volodar Murzin just continues to build on his advantage. Not much has happened, so we won't move into that game, Sahaj. Let's check Hans versus Wesley for a moment.
There it is. We have Hans versus Wesley.
Oh wait, did Nihal just offer a draw? No, he didn't, right? I'm sorry, I just did a back and forth there.
I keep thinking that he's going to offer a draw.
And
at
we'll
some-
miss that move.
Yeah. Because I feel the position demands for it. Yeah? Maybe we should stick to that game.
Okay, we will come back to Hans versus Wesley. It's an interesting fight. We see the bar. Those say that everything is under control right now. And I'm also seeing some trades have just happened there.
Wow. And he goes king g7. Maybe there's rook e2 incoming. Let's do another trade.
Rook e2 allows the idea of a potential knight h5 because then d5 cannot be taken, and I've got a question for chat on that.
Oh.
Let's put that up. Maybe it's not much, but it's something. Rook e2. That I want to plant my knight, to its square.
So takes and knight h5, yeah?
Yeah, and now chat. Looks like I'm losing a pawn. Rook takes pawn. What is the trick here?
Pawn takes b3. I'm sure that's also winning. But yes, the move is rook takes d5. There is you see the bar take a huge jump there, and black can play knight to f4 check, and you will lose the rook here in the process. But of course, he's not going to fall for it. And this is why Tanya says rook e2 might not be the best move as it places the king where it can be checked on f4. So perhaps rook e1 can be interesting, but Nihal says no. I will solidify my position, rook d4, no trades happening, and your knight remains on f6.
Nihal keeping everything under control, and as this game will decide the winner of Tata Steel Chess India Rapid, Sahaj, we already have a winner of our giveaway.
Oof.
We have a winner of our giveaway. We asked you guys, tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. And a huge congratulations to Parth Parekh. This is what he came up with. I'm an Indian born in the 90s. Growing up, I had heard of only two Indian sports icons, Sachin Tendulkar and this chess player. 33 years since, he's still my favorite chess player, keenly following TSCI 2026 and rooting for him. Hashtag Tigers in the head.
Oof, I love that hashtag towards the end. And just with that, hashtag, I think very well deserved winner there.
Hashtag Tigers in the head, Parth, is where you had us on, I believe. Huge congratulations to you. You will win a diamond membership from chess.com and some very cool TSCI merch. I've got it right behind me. I'm going to reach out for all these t-shirts of Tata Steel Chess India coming your way. Okay, we have to have Vishy and Nihal on the screen at all times. Let's just do that while we show the amazing merch. And we've got 4 t-shirts. I just hope I don't topple over right now. That would be a great TV moment. 2 caps.
And then we have this very cool keychain, which is my favorite, by the way. I love it. Look at the design on this thing. This is so beautiful.
So that's 2
I'm keeping
black
this.
and white. No, we have to give that away, Sahaj. You can't keep it. So that's 2 black.
Sorry, Parthpai.
Parthpai, you can give your gift to Sahaj if you'd so like. All of this, and there's also very cool Tata Steel Chess India coasters. I think they're somewhere here that you can see. And I believe, Rakesh, that should they DM Chesscom India or should they DM you? Okay, so you can DM Rakesh Bhai or Chesscom India Parth Bhai with your ID, and he'll be in touch with you, get your address, and all these things will be done and shipped to you. YouTube translation, very cool tweet there.
Absolutely.
Tiger zinda hai and Tiger really zinda hai.
अब दिख रहा है वो तो. Tiger is still playing, trying to play for a win here with the black pieces. Has good chances.
The Tiger of Madras, he's famously known. And he's fighting for that first spot, for that first prize here against Nihal Siri. Nihal needs only a draw. Rook just comes in. And right there, a draw offer accepted. Sahaj, Nihal Serene will finish first. Vishy will share for second. What a moment this is here at the Tata Steel Chess India. Huge congratulations to Nihal and to Vishy.
Absolutely. What a performance by Nihal, I think, so far. I mean, his first day was really shaky, losing that almost a winning position against Arjun, but then he came back like a king on day 2, 3 out of 3, taking down Hans, Murzin and Vidit back to back. And today, he has drawn against Prague and Vishy and defeated Wesley. That too with the black pieces in such a spectacular fashion. Fully deserved for Nihal.
What a storyline this is. I mean, for both these players, right, you've got to be feeling proud as an Indian chess fan to see the tournament end the way this has at the Rapid, in which he says, you know what, there's still action on, so let's step out and analyze more. The kings are placed in the center of the board. Vishy Anand, the OG king of Indian chess, what a run he's had consistently at the top all 3 days. Just one blip along the way against Arjun, but fantastic performance start to finish there. And with the last round draw will end at second. And for Nihal, he gets this chance, he gets this opportunity.
Absolutely, and he was last minute replacement.
Exactly.
That is huge. I mean, Nihal breaking 2700 and then winning this event back to back, I think is really impressive. I know Nihal, people, including myself, have been waiting for him to, win and show up and show his true potential. And I feel like this event, he has done just that.
And Nihal had a very solid showing in Doha recently, 8.5 out of 13 in the World Rapid. I think he just continued his momentum coming in here. The first day was mid for him, finishing at 50%, but then a fantastic 3 out of 3 performance, and today as well, 2 wins, and then eventually ending the day on a high, kept everything under control, drew with the legend. It's a win-win for Nihal.
Absolutely. I think what a performance by Nihal. And also in World Blitz, he had such a crazy performance as well. It's very happy for Nihal here. I think him winning this event, you couldn't make this stuff up. Love to see it. And by the way, we have this fight for the 3rd place, and looks like Arjun is struggling against Murzin. You can see that bar taking a huge jump, and rightfully so. Looks like that Arjun... Isn't there just knight takes g6 here, Tanya? Or am I was thinking something like queen h3. Wow, b4. What is this move?
He's deflecting the queen. He says queen takes pawn will be met by potentially rook b1, and you lose the bishop on b7. It also puts the queen further away from all the action like knight takes pawn eventually, Sahaj. Very tricky stuff by Murzin. If he wins this, that's a 3 out of 3 on the last day for him.
Wow, beautiful. Great performance.
I really like this move. I mean, you don't have so many options. You could go back to d6, but then bishop takes pawn, Sahaj. Basically, the black queen has no good squares.
Even bishop
in a bad
takes rook?
position. Bishop takes rook, of
Just
course.
knight f7 check and that's it. I mean, the
Yes.
queen has no proper squares in this position. And I think Murzin is going to win this match, which means that Vishy will be clear second. Because Arjun is the only player who's 1 point behind.
The
There will
only
be no
one
tie.
who can catch him. Wow, alright, so Arjun in a dead loss position, probably with black, was over ambitious in his opening approach, wanting to get those chances, and you know, that's a double-edged sword. When you play this risky with black in a must, you feel what is a must win, which it really was for Arjun if you think about it. I mean, if he wins, if he draws this game, it really doesn't get him anywhere. Tied for
yes.
third, you look at tie breaks, but it has backfired.
He might not even finish third if this happens because there are other points. And this could be dangerous for him.
And one of them is right behind there. It is Pragnananda versus Wei. Let's check in with that. Prague, you know, he's fully locked in right now. Wei, he started great in the tournament, but it's been shaky today and yesterday as well. Simplified position, a bishop pair for Pragnananda, but you've got an isolated pawn on d4 as well. It's an extra pawn though, that IQP, that's one whole extra pawn. And with that bishop pair, I feel that Prague has got real chances here.
No, I think that's an understatement. I think Prague definitely could go for a win here. And he makes another mistake by going knight d5. Now just queen e4 or queen g3 can be very good. Wow. You know, Wei has not had a great event at all. In fact, he has had 3 losses back to back and then he drew to Vidit and now he plays against Prague where he's not doing the best.
Alright, so Prague looking good on this board. He's playing at 4.5. And if Arjun loses, Prague might be the one who will take that third podium spot over there. Another player in the mix is Hans versus Wesley. Moving on to that board. That is an endgame. It's equal material right now. And I think Wesley's piece activity with the rook and the bishop, if anything, I'm picking black here. Rook d2 coming in, rook b4 coming in.
There's a pawn on e4 which is isolated. Yeah, maybe more or less balanced, yeah?
Actually, I'm picking a draw here.
Yeah.
Is what I'm picking.
Wesley smiling there. I think he knows this is equal as he goes king f1. Now rook d2, your move could be possible. Even rook b4 is possible in this position as well. So now does he play now? Oh, is there a repetition on the cards? If I go rook d2, you have to go rook e2 and that's a check, check, check. Repetition. Let's say if I go rook d2 here. Oh no, there's just...
You can take on e4 and then on e4 and just thank you for the extra pawn.
Good point there. Bishop a5 he goes for. By the way, only move for Hans is to play rook c1.
Alright, well Sahaj, this one an endgame that will most likely end in a draw. Let's go back to Murzin versus Arjun. I think that might finish any moment. He keeps chasing the black queen, does Murzin. So queen b6 was the reply to b4 and a5. Again, queen takes pawn, runs into rook b1. The rook on e8 is hanging. There's a powerful attack against the black king.
You have to play queen a7, I'm guessing.
Oh, that is not a happy move to make. I mean, with bishop e3 coming in at some point.
He goes queen b5, offering the trade of queens.
You could fall back with your bishop to c4, but then you lose connection to the rook. It almost feels like the queen is trapped actually. Bishop c4, the only move you have is queen takes pawn, and that walks into the rook b1 idea.
Absolutely.
I think Murzin's going to be up a piece right now. A little bit of panic there with him as he realizes panic or nerves, however you call it. He's got 3 minutes on the clock. What a shift it's been for Murzin, right? 3 out of 3 is what he's staring at today, just really getting set up for the blitz.
Oh yes. The queen takes b5 looks very, very promising. Even bishop c4 looks very promising here.
And we're going to go into full screen because we've got a very special guest joining us as we get our studio ready chat. This is something you don't want to miss. And welcome back, and with us is the 5-time world champion. What a run this has been in Tata Steel Chess India. Vishy, it has been an absolute pleasure to watch you back on the board here in Kolkata. Firstly, a big congratulations. How are you feeling right now?
A pity. I thought with our opponents, we still had a decent chance of fighting for first place in the last round, but I mean, how many times does Wesley play a game like that? So then I thought, well, then I have to do something crazy in the last round, and I was somehow not ready to switch. Also, I wanted to, after all, second was also a good result for me.
Yes.
And so a bit upset that I didn't have the energy to go for more. But yeah, it is what it is. And congrats to Nihal. I was telling him that his just for his endgame against Vidit, he should. Well, that it was a spectacular win, especially King D4.
Yes.
So I thought that was.
But overall, are you satisfied not just with finishing second, but with the quality of play that was there here?
I think so. I have not had a chance to have a detailed look at my games or anything, but sort of think so.
Yes.
I think
We
I
felt
think
it all the way.
I think many games were really quite good, but I don't remember. Today was weaker. I mean, against Vidit, I made some careless mistake. Against Prague, there was some. I mean, it turned out not to have any consequences, but I was not very sharp, and obviously the loss to Arjun in a pretty good position, if I can put it mildly. But many of my wins were, quite good. So, agree with that. I think the win with Volodar was probably, in terms of quality, my best. And it was nice to beat Neiman in a complicated struggle.
And especially after coming back from that loss from Arjun, you were playing Hans and Murzin back to back. I was actually going to ask, while we bring up Arjun's board so that we can follow the action on that as well. This is the current position right now on that Vishy. Murzin, this looks like should be, as Peter says, if this is not checkmate, what is?
Wants to go Queen E6.
And threatening the smothered mate idea?
Yes, but I guess Arjun has to play. Well, honestly, I don't understand why Murzin went for this and not many of the other options. But okay, let's say this is it. He's gone Queen E6. I have to either move the bishop F6, or I have to play h6, which is kind of crazy.
The
What
bishop
else do I
F6
have?
or H6?
Well, I have to. It's bishop F6 or play h6.
Yes, to create some squares for the king. Vishy, I wanted to actually ask you about this. That game against Arjun, it turned around in that time scramble, or at the very end at least. And then you had these two back-to-back wins. Was there, and we could see it visibly on the camera, you were upset after that game. What was the readjustment there?
Nothing. I took my Aruna told me, and because unfortunately she has too much experience with me doing this, so she told me, look, take a few deep breaths because you must be going bonkers. So that's what I did.
You called her in between.
So like no, we
Okay.
exchange messages, something like So we go for the security check at 5:25, and then we go through. But so at about 5:15, he told me, get some deep breaths in. So I did that, and then well, you have to move on. You have to play the next game and so on. And certainly there have been other accidents. I mean, I don't remember Wesley ever doing what he did to Nihal. He's normally bulletproof. So, and there are probably several other games. I mean, it is this time control where people lose control. But overall, certainly I'm very satisfied. You get greedy once you have a real chance at first, then you're slightly slightly confused by it not happening, but I think this worked out.
Well, chat, you can send in your questions for Vishy. He's going to be hopefully with us for a little bit here, and we'll bring those up. Vishy, I want to talk a little bit about, throughout the tournament, we've been saying that you became world champion before most of the players in the field were born. At least a lot of them. And you became grandmaster before any one of the players in Tata Steel Chess India, women and open, were born. So to have...
You're really rubbing this in, right?
I am, but in a very, in only the best way possible, because to have this run and also be the one who 99% of the time was faster on the clock with the generational thing, does that make it even extra sweet?
No, that was very conscious, because I did not want to be in a situation where I was low on time or anything. So I made an extra effort to, because you can think all you want, but there's not enough time to solve everything. So I think, but yes, I was practical. Anyway, we've got the blitz coming as well.
It's got to feel good to be really holding the door for the old guard here. Or at least... I'm sorry.
This is the theme of the day. No, I understand. I know, I understand.
It's just been amazing to watch you here, Vishy.
I understand. No, yeah. Actually, more than my age, what I feel is that when you don't play often, every decision seems slightly unfamiliar. So for me, that was the harder thing to get used to. When you play all the time, you're ready all the time in some way. But if you think, then you start wondering about every decision. Should I do this or that, and this sort of thing. So I was happy that this went well. Wow. What
He's still
is
fighting.
that? What is that? Wait, but
there's a mate in 17 is what I'm being told right now.
Which is worrying, because I think it's a mate in 4, which is I mean, bishop d3. What move do you have?
So bishop d3.
What are the remaining 16 moves for black? Is it queen g4 check or something, or what?
But that's just maybe. Oh, maybe. That's.
Bishop d3. He's already the computer saying queen e4. So I think gives you a sense of what this mate in 17 is. I think it's 17 legal moves, not.
I'm surprised there are 17. Okay, because you trade the bishop off at some point. Rook takes queen. I'm still not seeing how you actually survive.
No, he's going a queen down, and then mate is taking 17 moves.
But how is it taking? Because again, queen e4. If I just take it with the rook, how does black survive for?
That is even a valid question.
16 moves here.
So the computer is cunningly starting with the queen or starting with the bishop? No, okay, but this is ridiculous. So did he play bishop d3?
He hasn't played it yet. I'm gonna just bring up our live.
I mean, he could check on f7, double check on h6.
He's gone bishop d3, king g8 replied. This is what we have.
Yeah, and then he could take the pawn on h6, come back, and then go for this mate anyway with bishop d3. But,
yes.
Okay, he doesn't need it. Yeah, no, bishop g6 mate. Is this happening?
This is happening, and that's handshakes. And Volodar Murzin gets his 3rd win in a row. And Arjun, after sort of making a comeback after a slow start on day 1, today was not his day.
I don't know. I mean, if you take a lot of risk,
yes.
Sometimes I didn't have a chance to see his game.
Yes.
But if you take a lot of risk, then you get it.
And Vishy, we had a featured chat over there, question which I think was also on my mind about your participation in the Total World Championship and how you look at that whole tour.
Well, we'll get to that. I mean, am I in? I'm a reserve,
yes.
Right?
I think it was announced as you are
maybe somebody declined. I thought someone had to decline, but I mean, that's several months ahead.
Yes.
It's a bit early, but I will try to get ready. I mean, you may have sensed that I'm triangling to play a little bit more, and so certainly a chance to play in some nice events would be welcome.
And you mentioned that you were quite happy with your game against Murzin. Are there any other such games that you were particularly pleased with? Having that first round win also against Wesley from a position that was very
Wesley was great. I mean,
yes.
I thought I'm better, but I couldn't quite see where to put my pieces. I mean, I want my bishop on d4, stopping f6, and generally being a boss over there. But he's threatening to trade it, something like that. Then he went for g5, which kind of was a relief. Then I was very happy with this move, bishop b6. Just to take away the d8 square so that I can attack the d5 pawn. I mean, there was some sophisticated stuff I was doing.
And then finding queen f5. I think that is probably what...
Queen f5, the funny thing is
that
he's just busted right away, right?
Yes, it's
so
just game over.
It's game over after queen f5. I didn't even realize how strong it was. I mean, I thought I might be +3, and then I'm seeing its computer is not even giving a line below +8 or something.
Yeah,
it's
queen f5
insane.
is game over.
And once he went for this allowed e6 check, it got just absurd because he went king h6, 7, bishop e3, and then okay. But that is that was very strange. Having said that, I thought some of my decisions were very practical, and already I had the feeling that I was taking good practical decisions, and I was happy with that game in that sense also. So not only the point, which was welcome, but the fact that I thought that's a good place to start the tournament.
Which has been pretty awesome, you played in GCL, you were there at the Jerusalem Masters as well, in the finals in there, and now you're here. Are you going to be very regular now? Will we see a lot more of you on the chessboard?
I think realistically, I'm because one of the things I noticed that it's very difficult to play very little. You either play a minimum amount, or I mean, it's not much more. It's much more stressful to play one tournament a year than to play 3 or 4, because when you play one, you lose touch completely. And I've kind of missed playing as well, so I'm happy to be playing a bit more, but I'm not going to go crazy.
That's fair. All right, I'm going to get an update from you on our 2 remaining boards right now. This is Prague with white. I see one queen is not there on the board, so that's a rook and a minor piece for a queen. How trivial or not trivial is this conversion?
I would say it's equal.
Wow.
Oh, in fact, he has managed to blunder a...
Rook d3?
I didn't even realize.
Is it rook d3?
Yeah, but already the last move was unpleasant, right? And he's gone rook e2 instantly, but now after rook d3, queen b, okay, he's going to take the remaining 2 pawns and hope that but now black can do an attack. I don't know, h5, h4, some rook d1. Rook d1 c1 is actually, because the g3 square is not there. So he could be in trouble.
For a mating attack?
Yes.
Against the
now
white.
The question is, do you have a g4, knight h4, rook e7, hell for leather counter attack? But no, you don't, because I'll give knight f3 check, kick your king out, and then do all sorts of nasty things there. Okay, he's gone to b7.
He wants to defend that square with the rook.
But now rook c1.
g4.
And then knight h4 and come back maybe?
Let's just have
the
arrows. So
knight h4, you'll go rook e7 again.
Knight h4.
So maybe h5. Yeah, h5 I was just about to say. Get in h5.
He stops.
Because if you play h4, you can even threaten knight g3.
Sorry, if you mean after black gets h4?
After black gets
beautiful.
h4, I'm not only threatening rook c1, I'm threatening knight
That
g3
is
also.
beautiful.
Wait, so Prague has gone rook e... now he's walking into this. I go h4.
So you don't care about rook takes pawn because knight g3 is game over?
Yes. So h4 should clinch it if this is correct.
And if we...
What? He's done it in the reverse order.
Pawn takes knight, rook c1 is what he wants. And g4 h4. But g3 rook c2 or rook d2 may. No. Yes. Okay, this wins as well though. Very beautiful, no? This finishes?
It's a show off. Yeah. No, but this was... I think in a way both Murzin and Wei, at least they get to leave the tournament in some sort of
Or start
thing.
blitz with a.
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, I thought half out of 6 was ridiculous for Voladar,
Yes.
but certainly winning 3 must improve his mood.
And there we have it. Wei gets the last round win. A disappointing loss there for Prague. Vishy, there's been a lot of talk about what happened yesterday. I just want to get your take on it. I don't know if you know what went down on the Prague Wesley board.
I wanted to ask them what exactly happened at the end. Why was it declared a draw? Did Wesley offer a draw? What exactly happened there?
So this was exactly the question we had in mind as well. Well, Wesley first claimed for a win. When the arbiter stepped in, he said the win will not be given, but you'll get an extra minute or 2 on the clock. After Prague stopped it without making.
And then Wesley said, I offer a draw.
He offered a draw and Prague agreed.
Okay.
So that's how it went down. The feeling that we had was that Wesley's claim should have, especially after what happened recently in Doha to Magnus. Also because the queen was apparently on within reachable distance on the board. So
Wasn't it on his hand? Somebody was mentioning, maybe Vidit was mentioning that the queen was in his hand in the video. And he looked for the queen, which was in his hand, because he didn't realize it was in hand or something like that. I don't know.
There was a queen in his hand and there was a queen next to the clock as well. The extra queen was lying next to the clock. But Prague actually reached across and picked up the knight by mistake. And then he realized it too late.
You know the beauty? The knight wins also. So
in the position itself.
Yes, D1 equals rook works, D1 equals queen works, D1 equals knight works, but the only move which doesn't work is D1 equals bishop, because all the other 3 moves are absolutely fine.
You know, I'm going to try to pull that up. So it was Prague versus Wesley. Yeah, this one. Right here. We'll have the cameras exactly where they are, and this is the position that we're talking about right now where it all happened, Vishy.
So D1 knight works also because of queen D3. I have knight F2 takes D3.
Oh, wow.
D1 queen obviously works, but D1 rook works as well. So this is just a funny position where it doesn't matter.
And he actually reached out for the knight in
Had he reached out for the bishop, then he would have a problem. But as it happened, it was actually kind of okay.
And then I think Wesley mentioned that he didn't want to appeal the arbiter's decision, even though he had a feeling that if he did appeal, he would be given the win. But sportsmanship there.
Sure.
And that's how that ended. Going back to the board on this one, but that's fascinating that D1 knight here actually would have just not caused any drama.
It's the same as all 3 moves. That's the point. That's kind of what's funny. Because we were trying to figure out what was happening as well. Sandeepan and me. And we concluded that whatever happened, then we were not looking for the explanation of what happened, but we saw that the evaluation suggested that D1 knight. I thought that was incredibly funny. But
you mentioned Sandeepan is here as well. How's that been?
Nice. I mean, he's been working with me for a long time. He's one of our main coaches in Waka as well.
Yes.
So, but on top of that, I've been relying on him for many years. He came to St. Louis in 19. He helped me in Norway in 22. Last couple of years, he's been working with me, albeit infrequently, but there we are.
And Vishy, I know I have to let go of you soon, my least favorite part, but I have to do it. And before you go, there is, I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal it, but there is a big announcement coming from you soon. You are releasing a new...
Yes.
Am I allowed to say it?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us?
No, you should.
Okay. I will. Well, there is incredible news coming for all chess fans. Vishy's new book will be out, and I have had the privilege to know a little bit about it. And Vishy, it's aimed at beginners and maybe slightly stronger than that intermediate club players, but it breaks down chess by you for them.
Yes, I would say it's also meant for youngsters.
Yes.
It's got some chess content, of course, but it's not only about that. So it was for a younger audience, but yes, hopefully young chess players and others, some life lessons and things like that.
Some life lessons. When is it launched?
13th, I think.
13th of this month is when the book comes out. Can you tell us what is it called? What's the name, Vishy? Or we'll keep that a secret, maybe.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Yes, why don't you ask them to find it?
Well, you'll find out what it's called on the 13th of Jan. Vishy's new book will be out. Definitely get your hands on it. Some great life lessons, chess lessons in it. We'll be doing some fun stuff around it as well. Vishy, and how excited are you about the Blitz coming up finally?
Well, I'm going to, finish one tournament. I'll try to get ready for the Blitz.
All right, we are super excited to watch you back in action. And once again, it has been fantastic to see you in the Rapid. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we go back to the last remaining game in this one. It's Divya versus Katrina. Well, there's also Vidit in action right now. And we will say bye to Vishy, take his leave. He's got other commitments. He will be back for the Blitz tomorrow. Lots to look forward to. What a fantastic finish by him on the second, finishing on the podium. Second, Nihal Serene takes the draw in the final round, is the winner. And I'll have Sahaj come back and join me. My heart's beating very fast, Sahaj. Having Vishy here talking about the experiences of the tournament and just what it's been. And so cool he is. He's Mr. Cool. He's an absolute legend, Sahaj.
Absolutely. And I'm very keen to read about that book as well. It's the first time I'm hearing about it too. And very, very keen to know about his book. But yes, what a performance by the Madras Tiger. Tiger of Madras. Hashtag. And we have one last game remaining, I believe.
We do have it. And there's, I think, Vidit and Arvind at the back are still just analyzing their position. So that one's over.
Yes,
and it ended in a draw.
I mean, this is how you see the love for chess, yeah? Let's have that game on the
Vidit's
board.
Disappointed. He was better pretty much for the majority of the end game there. Had extra material as well, but unable to convert at the end.
By the way, there are two games remaining. By the way, Vashali is also playing against Nana Dzganigidze, and this is the current position. And Nana has just blundered in her previous move, which was... No, actually, she was completely lost, yeah? So Vashali, good finish to an overall not such a great tournament, but I think a very good finish for Vashali there.
And such that we've got Lagno, who of course ran away with the tournament, 1 round to spare, but there's still a fight for second and third place. And in that mix is Divya as well. You know, with her penultimate round victory against Vashali, we've got her playing against the tournament leader, and Divya has an extra pawn. And we will break this down. We've got reinforcements here. Not just that, chat. We've got joining us Tata Steel Chess India Rapid winner. And as we get our studios set up for him, it's none other than Nihal Serene. Nihal, huge congratulations on your win.
Thank you so much.
It's been amazing watching you, Nihal. Just the whole storyline of you coming in last minute at Kolkata, the run that you had. How are you feeling with all of this?
Yeah, I feel good. Yeah, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about this, because talk to me about, you know, with Gukesh withdrawal, and that was a week before the tournament. So you come in, and then the first day was a bit up and down, but then you really found your form in the second day. 3 out of 3.
Yeah, no, second day fortunately it went quite well for me. I mean, the games were quite up and down, but I think, as they say, all it matters in chess is like who makes the last blunder. So luckily on those games it was not me. So, yeah.
Was there anything specific after day 1 to sort of switch yourself to this mindset of going into day 2? Anything specific?
Not
Special?
really.
No.
Not really at all. Maybe I think on day 1, I believe maybe I tried to prepare for like 5 minutes. And yeah, day 2 I did not even do that.
Maybe that's the secret sauce. Just come fresh to the game. Vidya, tell me, what is this win? Now, you've won in Tata Steel before, but winning the Rapid, also, you know, last round you drew with Vishu, who was also in the lead. Just the whole run that it has had. What does it mean to start the year with this performance?
Yeah, it's I'm very happy for sure, and also yeah, I just want to. Sorry.
Yeah, just a little bit ahead. Sorry. Yeah, I think this is good. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and it's also I just wanted to mention yesterday night I got the news that my maternal grandfather who taught me chess had passed away. Like he had been ill for a very long time, and yeah, especially in the last 1-2 months, his condition was really deteriorating, and yeah, it was basically heartbreaking. He would have loved to see it. He was always a huge well-wisher, and he used to, like, even when 80 plus, he used to watch my games on Follow Chess all night.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would like to dedicate this tournament victory to him, of course, and yeah, just
Nihal, my deepest condolences, and I'm very sorry to hear that. But your grandfather would have been, I'm sure he was super proud of everything that you've achieved, and it probably wasn't an easy decision for you to come here,
yeah.
and you've done the absolute best that you could.
Thank you.
All right, well, talk to us a little bit, Nihal, about the moment where you felt in this tournament that you were going to be fighting for that top spot over especially the last 2 days. Was there a particular game where you felt, okay, now I'm really finding my rhythm here?
Not exactly. But no, for sure, after the game against Wesley, I thought I got the lead with 1 round to go, and then of course I had a chance for first. But yeah, in general, I was just trying to play, and yeah, and okay, especially today, I was just trying to somehow stay in the moment, and yeah, like during the games, I was it's just remembering him.
Yes. I wanted to actually ask you, Nihal, that you mentioned that your grandfather would always follow your games. Was he also somebody who played a role in you taking up chess?
Oh yes, he's the reason. He was the one who taught me chess, actually.
Oh wow.
He was the one who who taught me how the pieces move, and yeah, he's the sole reason why I got into chess in the first place. Yes. So yeah, it's even more.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was my, we used to play when I was 5. I used to be a very restless kid, and so yeah. So my grandfather tried introduced me to kind of make me calm down a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it started. And
So
yeah,
you loved the game.
yeah, he absolutely loved the game. And,
Amazing.
I mean, we were all beginners, of course,
Yes.
but yeah, we loved the game, and I used to cry after losing to him all the time. But finally, one day, out of nowhere, I bet him, and I started to get even more interested. And yeah, so
It was my Nanaji as well who taught me how to play chess.
okay.
And and I'm just very glad that through chess I had the possibility to make him proud.
yeah, certainly. And I hope yeah, I mean, this is the best way to honor him, and
Exactly.
yeah, what to do.
Yeah, absolutely, Nihal. I mean, and then you've got the blitz coming up as well. So, wow, this is emotional to hear, because I can completely relate with everything that you're going through and the strength that it takes to come to a tournament and then to put up a performance like that. I want to go back to the chess bit here. I want to also hear about your thoughts in the way Vishy played the tournament, because for us that was also such a massive story here. Vishy coming back, just what that means for the golden generation of chess, one of the faces you are yourself, and the performance that he had here.
Oh yes, I mean, absolutely, he's an absolute legend of the game.
Yes.
And at least in my opinion, he's easily one of the greatest players of all time. And yeah, it's an honor to play with him. And okay, today we did not exactly play because of the tournament situation, but and for me, okay, I'm absolutely not surprised that say you can still the class is very much visible still.
Yes.
The class is permanent this year. So
Yes.
so yeah, he's still absolutely amazing at this stage, which is mind-blowing, honestly. But okay, I think pretty much everything he does is mind-blowing.
Yes, I think that's beautifully put, Nihal. That everything pretty much what Vishy does is mind-blowing. And to have to finish the game with a draw against him where you will be first, and Vishy also fantastic run. It's been amazing to watch. You know what? I want to put up, we had this contest running, Nihal, this for our fans, which was tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. And we had a lot of entries, and I'm going to ask you if you can, I think you will be able to. But our winner, the winner that we had, let's just have that tweet up, you know, with everything that we were talking about. I'm going to have that on the screen right here. And I know this is an easy one for you.
Okay, so wait, is this a...
So I'm an Indian born in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
Growing up, I had heard of only 2 Indian sports icons.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
I think I know the line which gave it away.
I mean, 33 years?
Yes, and he's still my favorite player. Also, I thought hashtag Tiger Zinda Hai is where he had us.
I didn't even need to read
Get that far?
Yeah, of course.
It's of course Vishy Anand.
Of course.
So this was the one that won that competition. There were a lot of mentions for you as well without naming you. A lot of players a lot of our fans were very excited to see you, especially with Gukesh having withdrawn and you being a last minute replacement in the field. Nihal, Rapid, huge congratulations. And once again, our deepest condolences for your loss, and you continue making your grandfather proud, because I know that he's watching from somewhere.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All the best for Blitz, Nihal.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we are going to wrap up the show, but the show doesn't stop at the Dhanu Dhanyo Auditorium in Kolkata, because it's Blitz time tomorrow with Tata Steel Chess India. We'll be back. Thank you, chat. See you then. And you can't leave us too soon. So here we are, chat. Sahaj, an end to the Rapid, but picture abhi baki hai. There's 2 days of Blitz coming up. Firstly, how are you feeling about everything that we've witnessed in the Rapid?
I think again a spectacular performance by Nihal, and of course, my condolences to him and his family as well. And the fact that he is able to play chess at the highest level despite this is, I think, fantastic, and I'm wishing the best for him. And I was reading the chat, I was in the room, but I was reading the chat, and someone said, "Ek hi dil hai, kitni baar jeetoge Nihal?"
Ek hi to dil hai. That is actually, I think, beautifully put. And you're absolutely right. The courage, the strength that it takes in moments like these to have such a performance.
It's definitely not easy. Not an easy task whatsoever. So big props to Nihal. And for me, I want Nihal to do a double sort of victory here, a double crown here. So we are rooting for him. And of course it's Blitz. This is his format.
Yes.
He feels the most comfortable in it. So let's see what happens. But of course we have Vishy as well, who's lightning kid for a reason. And it's going to be a very exciting match between these two players. And of course, let's not forget Arjun as well. There are so many players who are, shooting for that crown. And at the end, there's just going to be one. Tanya, any picks for you?
You know what? Can we just have our actual standings from the Rapid and just finish that off? Also take the picks from here, Sahaj. This is how the stage ended. Nihal at the top with 6.5 first place. It's Vishy Anand who will be second at 6, sole second position. 6 out of 9. Fantastic performance there. Arjun and Wesley shared for third. So even after a last round loss there for Arjun, he does get that podium finish on tiebreak. Not just him, it's actually Arjun, Wesley and Hans who will share third place. Prague, Vidit, and then we've got we at 3.5. Saj, looking at top to bottom, I'm really hoping that, some of the players who are in the lower half in the open section, that they have some great performances in the Blitz. I think seeing way down there, very surprising.
Prague as well, I think. Vidit
Yes.
as well, for that matter, for sure. Murzin, he had a great, I think, day 3, but overall, I think day 1 and day 2, I think everyone expected more from him in that sense. So, hoping that he can make a comeback. But by the way, Tanya, it is official.
What is?
This is the 4th bronze that Arjun has gotten in a row. Started off with GCL, World Rapid, World Blitz, and now we have the Tata Steel India Rapid event as well, where Arjun is once again on third place.
Incredible. And I think he's going to be looking at a different color as it goes into the blitz. The metal color to be slightly different from that. Saj, in our women's section, it was a completely different story, right? Because we had Vachier-Lagrave, who won the field with a 1.5 point margin at 6.5. And she's making a strong case to come back and blitz as well for that double crown, especially given how she herself has mentioned that out of blitz and rapid, blitz is truly her forte.
I couldn't agree more in that sense. And of course, in the women's section, I think one player completely dominated from day one itself. From in the open section, of course, it was a fight, but in the women's section, there is a clear favorite going into the blitz section of this match. And for me, I think that is Vachier-Lagrave, hands down.
Maybe Hans Niemann might be the one who will get it done in the blitz. Well, Doha wasn't great for him when it came to the blitz. We'll find out so much action. I saw the feature chat there. Just as we were about to leave, we get pulled right back in, and that's exactly what's going to happen tomorrow as well. You guys will be back here with us as we go into 2 days of Tata Steel Chess India Blitz. It's going to be fantastic. Said we'll have 9 rounds every day. Do you think we'll have a different winner of the Tata Steel Blitz? It's Nihal and Katrina who've taken in the rapid.
In the women's, no. I think in the open section, no. I think Nihal is going to.
He continues.
He continues. I think this is
it's good vibes.
It's
for
good
him.
vibes. I think
Yes.
we need him to sort of do a double crown.
What about the women?
Lagno, I think.
Oh,
Lagno
wow.
Or
So-
Goryachkina is also very close second. But yeah, I think we might see a similar winner. But okay, we'll get a clearer picture after day 1 has ended. But 9 rounds is a lot of rounds.
It's going to be a lot about endurance and speed and precision. One thing's for sure, whatever happens, whoever wins, chess will win, and we're going to have a fantastic time. This time, it's actually a sign-off for us just for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.